All right. I don't know if there was any sound for that one, but
Oh,
what up,
right. Do we not
everybody?
have sound?
I don't know. I don't know. Who knows what happens with the Zoom thing these days?
Oh, no.
Everybody
Welcome,
heard it.
everyone.
Everyone heard
Episode
the song in their
71.
head. Everyone heard the song in their head anyway.
Of course.
I know my head was bobbing along the whole time. Yeah. Welcome, everyone.
People
71.
are hearing that song in their dreams and nightmares now, dude. It's just like one
Maybe.
of those songs,
It is. It
you
is.
know?
Shit. What up, everybody? Thanks, everybody, for joining. We got a bunch of people in the chat already. This is cool. This is cool. All
Yes.
right. Twice in one week.
Episode 71. This week is the week of Blade history. Oh my God.
I
Two
know.
legends.
We're getting it all in.
It's incredible. We have Arlo on, and then we have Angie Walton on. This
Like
is
they
like
keep
the
getting
foundation.
more and more OG.
It's incredible. I love it. It's
that was
like,
funny hearing the other day. Arlo talked about it. Like, damn, you guys are so young. You don't even know. Like, I'm not even like OG. He's like, he doesn't.
I know.
He almost
I
doesn't
know.
even consider himself OG. So maybe Angie will enlighten us more on this today.
Dude, he was just sunning me left and right that whole episode. I was like, wow, okay.
It was. I was dying when he said that. He was like, he skated really bad in Hoax 2. He said because he hurt his groin and he couldn't do front sides.
Yeah.
And then he was like, Royales weren't out yet, and all I had was the soul grind. So I like my skating wasn't really good. I was like, that is so crazy to think of.
It's crazy that he's like self-conscious about those things. You wouldn't think, he's Arlo,
Yeah, I know. He doesn't have to prove himself or anything, but that is just such a funny concept that I afterwards I took that away and I was like, that is fucking hilarious. 2 tricks in the game. Once you hurt your groin, you're done.
He just has that level of, I guess, the standard of himself,
Yeah, I mean,
So because I remember seeing him in Hoax 2 and being like, this guy's the man.
Yeah, I know. We actually watched Hoax 2 recently on the movie nights, and
yeah,
we should have mentioned that too because he joined us for that too.
Yeah,
he was a part of it.
So yeah, I'm really stoked that we have Angie on today with
Just
to follow up on that Blade history, and now we're just gonna this is the birth of she gave birth to like one of the most prominent magazines in blading culture, man. It was like I hate to make this comparison, but it was similar to like I guess what would be the Thrasher of skateboarding. It was like our Bible. It came out monthly.
Mm-hmm.
This is before the internet. Before you can type up some stuff, you had to wait for the monthly thing, and that's how you'd get your Blade news.
Mm-hmm.
And they carried a bit into the internet age, but ultimately ended up not being able to survive and sustain because of the change in technology and everything like that. But man, during that other period, it was without that. I mean, it just caused so much growth.
That was the best, bringing like a magazine to a skate session and like everyone checking it out,
having the new one and bringing it like I got the new one.
Yeah.
Oh man,
I was so mad. All my boys lost the New York issue when I got it, and I brought it skating in the city that day. And then I'm taking the ferry ride home, and I'm like, damn, someone snatched it from me.
Yeah.
And I was like, that lasted me a few hours.
Yeah. No. They were gold back then. If you lost your magazine, if you lost it was a big deal.
You want to do your spiel? They're waiting for you.
I would love to do my spiel.
They're waiting for the spiel.
I would love to do my spiel.
You gotta wet the whistle before the spiel.
Gotta wet the whistle before the spiel. Long day of work. Well, everyone, my spiel. Oh shoot, I think I pressed a button that did something. Okay, cool. Awesome.
It's the new spiel video.
Oh, it's the spiel video. Okay, so please, if you don't already, please go to our YouTube and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you get a ding and a little notification when we start an episode and we have legends on like we do today. If you would like to go to our Facebook, give us a like. Go to our Instagram, follow us. We have an iTunes, and if you go to our iTunes, you can give us a 5-star rating, give us a comment. Share the video if you would like on. It really helps with the something to do with algorithms, and it just helps boost the video up. And if you comment, and if you can now, if you're watching live, please hit the like button, smash it. Some would say, smash the like button. And we also, if you are inclined to support our show and you like the work that we're doing, we have an online store. We have merch. We have a couple new shirts coming out. We also have a Patreon. So if you would like to become a patron of our Patreon, that's an option as well. And we appreciate that.
It sounds like a tongue twister. Patron of our Patreon.
Someone in the chat said, get to the hit bomb.
See, that's what I'm saying. We got to spiel.
I got to stop reading these chats, man. I got to focus. Okay. But
speaking of,
that's my spiel. So I guess
speaking of the you said the online store, we have a couple new shirts out, and
we just hit
10K on our Instagram page also. So for that, we're doing a little 10K contest / giveaway. Let me get that video going for you. Yeah, we're hosting a 10K giveaway on Instagram. So if you don't already like us, oh, hold on. There we go.
If you don't like us.
Follow us on Instagram and YouTube. And why is this not playing? Oh, there we go. There are 2 shirts. All you have to do is post a classic clip of yourself referencing another clip. And why is this doing this? What's going on here? I'm messing this whole thing up.
We're having some technical difficulties.
but anyway, on Instagram, post a clip yourself referencing a classic clip. I have the clips now playing so you could see what I'm talking about. Right. And use hashtag Jump Street Podcast. Make sure you follow us on Instagram and subscribe to us on YouTube. The deadline is September 8th, and you will win $100 cash money and one of each of our new t-shirts. So I'm looking forward to these. There's already a few out already.
Yeah. I love the idea of this contest. It's just, you see a trick of like your old favorite skater, you recreate it, you do whatever the signature move or something that had been done. And it's just fun. It's like a fun contest.
Hopefully I get to do mine this weekend. But because I'm gonna post a clip too, and Billy said you were gonna do the same as well.
Yeah, I gotta do one
to reference it. So looking forward to seeing that. September 8th is the deadline. Get them in. All right, I guess
2 shirts.
$100 and 2 shirts.
Come on,
that's $100 clip right there.
We're skating anyway. Why not?
So let me get to my hit bomb, I guess, and then we'll keep it moving.
Get to the hit bomb.
Everyone, check out hitbomb.com. For your 100% organic CBD topicals. I know there's a lot of you old people watching right now, you quote unquote old bladers. For your sore muscles and your sore joints, rub some Hip Balm on you and you'll be good to go the next day feeling great. When you go to hitbomb.com, use code JUMPSTREET at checkout and you'll save yourself 15% off your entire order. So you get to save money. It helps us out and we're all happy about that. There's also free samples on the website too. If you never used CBD before and you want to try it out, they have free samples. You just pay for shipping. It's like 50 cents or something like that.
Also, so, I gotta say this. I gotta back you up on the Hip Balm here. So I was using, and it was working for me. I was using the rub. Corey started using the drops, right before she went. Yeah, those drops. Right before she went to sleep. My partner Corey, she doesn't drink, she doesn't smoke, she doesn't do anything like that. But she took the CBD just before she went to sleep. And she said, she was like, wow, I'm having like the most sound nights of sleep because she like toss and turn. She's like, she'd sleep straight through just a droplet of the CBD. So anyone who's like, never tried CBD or not interested in like those kind of products, but maybe have a sleeping issue, I recommend that because it's really helped my partner.
That's funny you said that because I was talking to my friend yesterday about it and he said the same thing. He's like, yo, I started taking it before I go to sleep and I have like the best night's sleep. And I was like, I've done that once or twice and I had the same thing. So last night I did it again for the first time in a few weeks and same thing. I woke up feeling great because it's incredible. I usually just have a few drops in the morning, but
because I don't sleep well. I don't sleep through the night. You know what I mean? So like that's huge for me.
Yeah, no, it's good stuff. Everyone check it out. Hitbomb.com.
And hitbomb.com, code JUMPSTREET, 15% off. But we're going to get to our special guest real quick. I just want to do a quick shameless plug. I just had a new VOD that came out. If you want to check out, it's $5. It's about the cost of a beer if you're out at the bar. So yeah, it's on my Instagram, Homie Bill. You can go to Blader Gang Instagram or 9 to 5 Media Instagram. And the link is in the bio. It's $5. Did something with Erod. And I
have to congratulate you on that because that shit is fire and people are loving it too. And it was so sick seeing a section from you again. And we're gonna do like a little separate thing next week about it. But
cool.
It was fucking. I gotta hand it to you. I got props on that. It was so sick seeing like a full edit of you. And even though I have been skating with you for the past few years, not as often as I used to, it was still sick to see like a full edit of you. And Erod did a good job. It was
I'm really happy with everything we did together. It was cool.
Definitely highly recommend everyone go check it out. After this, I should have put it in the description now, but it will be in the link in bio in the YouTube description.
Thank you, brother.
One more thing. If you're in the Tri-State area this weekend, the BPSO is going on, or the Pope-Off, as I like to call it,
at 181st. Pop-off at the Pope-Off.
Pop-off.
As coined by Montre.
Yeah. Hopefully he shows up. 181st Street in Manhattan this Saturday. 11 a.m. You can register online if you want to compete, or you can register when you get there. 11 a.m. sharp though, which means like 3 p.m. skater time. So if you're going to be there, I'll see if you're going to be there. I'll see you there. You should come out. It's going to be a good time.
Now, I think we've left our incredible guest waiting long enough.
Yeah, she might be sleeping.
I hope she's not pissed.
But
But ladies and gentlemen,
without further ado,
yeah,
Angie Walton.
Amazing Angie Walton.
There we go. Oh no, you're sideways again. This keeps
you're
happening.
Sideways again, Angie. We lost you.
You got to do like
we
the
gotta
refresh.
we gotta recalibrate this.
Yeah.
And now flip it back, and it should go back. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
You got to be like, give
Yes.
me my money.
Killing
Give me my
me.
money.
Yes, we got you. We got you.
Look at the foresight I had to plant myself directly in the line of the sun.
You're gonna catch a tan today, then.
Dude, no. It was so beautiful, and I'm sitting out here and the breeze is blowing. I'm like, oh, this is awesome. I've got my little drink set up. And then right as it hit 4:55,
The sun came in.
I'm like, oh my God. So I'm going to tolerate it as long as I can.
Look at you in the side. That's perfect. You got a little side shade over there in the corner.
Oh, dude, this chair is amazing. I was like walking out on my porch and I looked across the street, and being the dumpster diver that I am, I'm always scouting what somebody's left in the trash. And I like see this chair across the street. So, I don't know. It could have been like late. I don't know when it was, but I look like a vagrant. I'm like walk across the street, up on the shoulders.
That's a big chair to carry too.
Ah.
It looks big. No problem.
Yeah.
No
I can't
problem.
see, so I'm just going off the tone of your voices.
Okay, perfect. Well, everything looks great. You look great right now. So nothing to worry about.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us today.
That's all I care about. Okay, interview done. I look great.
We're out of here.
I've always been so concerned about my visual appearance.
You look
That
great.
was a joke.
Well, first of all, thank you. It's really good seeing you after so long.
You too, Fish. I was
Yeah.
like, what? Billy O'Neill? Yeah.
No, I was happy that you were willing to do this. So I think many in this chat who are watching know you. Maybe some do not. I like to start things off from a very organic place in the beginning. And, you had such an incredible impact on this sport, and had so many of us just like, waiting to see your magazine. We're talking about pre-internet days when this was just like the thing that we needed. But how did you get started on your journey, and how did you get hooked into this thing that we do called, whatever it's called, aggressive rollerblading?
Ooh. Well, I come from a storied past. I'm going to have to abridge it because it's kind of gnarly. I ran away.
Well, this podcast is all about stories.
Yeah, but this one would take the entire podcast. I'll shorten it down.
We'll make room.
Or everybody knows this one because so many of us did. Grew up really poor.
Where'd you grow up?
Yada yada, and ran away with the carnival at like, I don't know, right out of not graduating high school. So I ran away with carnival, dressing up like a boy and putting the rides together and lifting pig iron, and
No, an actual carny.
And
I'm sorry, Angie. I don't mean to interrupt you. Just a second. I'm sorry. When you say you ran away with the carnival, so like the carnival was in town. I just need a little context on that. I know we don't have to get crazy into it, but just like a little.
Yeah, the carnival was in town. I had a psycho boyfriend that we won't go there.
Okay.
It was traumatic, and I just was like, I'm taking off. So I took off with the carnival. I shouldn't even. I shouldn't even jump down that rabbit hole.
I love it, but I just didn't know. You hear things like that, but I just didn't know the carnival was so willing to hire, oh yeah, sure, we got jobs. Like I never knew that it was such a job-rich economy. The carnival.
I sat in a little booth on the strip, where you go and buy your tickets for the rides.
Yeah.
And then crazy boyfriend tracked me down, tried to kill me, and I had met someone. He saved my life, and then I was with his family, and so I was part of a carnival family for a little while. It's very, very tight.
Whoa, that's cool.
He just reached out to me the other day, actually. But Liazarn Despizi Kiazarni, because you got to Riazit Pizi pull ears off.
Is this carnival talk?
Yeah, what was that?
That's
carnival.
Wait, there's
because you know, it's like they don't. It's like Washington D.C. You know, like they're like a traveling city with their own laws and rules and things, and it's got a really interesting past and history. So
yeah,
that was interesting for a while, but then I was like, okay, my time here is done. And you know, I was driving. The owner of the carnival actually, like, you know, looked at me and saw, okay, that's a weird one, and decided that he was gonna have me drive his cars on their little convoy. So, you know, I did not like that. I don't like driving long, you know, like by myself.
Sure.
Like I will fall asleep in an intersection just going to the store. So I was just like, it was torturous for me. And I was just like, they were offering me drugs and everything. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Oh. So after a while, I was just like, okay, time for me to like go back to the real world. And
whatever that is, right? Yeah.
And I didn't graduate. So I wanted to go to college and study architecture. And so I went to my high school counselor and I told her what I wanted to do. And she said, Angie, you know, if anybody else walked in here and said, hey, I didn't graduate, but I want to go to college, I'd tell them, let's sit down and talk for a while. She just signed a paper and off I went, because I had already passed all the pre-college exams trying to last minute graduate, because I was a complete fuck off. I had no interest in school at all. So so I went off to college and started studying art history and architecture and computer programming, and that didn't last long. I was working all night at a bar trying to like pay my way, and I felt so weird. I've been trying to like speed up my life history.
No, I love this though. This is so freaking fascinating. I didn't know any of this.
I was even on the college cheerleading team, which was really fucked up.
You did everything.
I just did it
Look at this range. 1 second you're in the carnival, next second you're on the college cheerleading team. This is such a, the juxtaposition is insane.
I made the cheerleading squad at that time wear the big socks. You know, I was an outcast there too. So they did not. The other cheerleaders did not want me there. I mean, I didn't practice. I wouldn't do shit. I was just like, whatever. And but in my hometown, I grew up in Winter Haven, Florida, and there's a place called Cypress Gardens, and they had a ski team. You probably saw it on, I don't know, you guys are too young to know the old Go-Go's video with the girls like.
No, totally. It's like the triangle.
Huh?
It's like the girls skiing, but it's like a triangle.
Yeah, like a pyramid.
Pyramid.
And then like
That's it. Yeah.
Skiing, and they've got the foofy hats and the
Right.
ballet on the water, basically.
Yeah.
Filmed in my hometown at Cypress Gardens, because that was where the Cypress Gardens ski team was. So that bar I was working in for college, it was called Ski One Lounge, and it was across from Cypress Gardens. So they would go there at night to drink, and they would see me, of course, because I'd been lifting pig iron out on the. I was kind of a rough, whatever, tomboy.
Right.
And we had big round conference table type tables in the bar, and those guys would be there till like closing, and they would see me like picking these tables up and like carrying them out and stuff, and they're like, fuck, what's up with this like Herculean like 5'2" chick?
Yeah.
So I got to know them, and they invited me to audition for the ski team. Actually, that didn't even happen yet. One of them asked me if I wanted to go air gliding, you know, like
oh yeah,
hang gliding.
I always wanted to do that, you know, like on a kite.
Oh no, like on the boat, right? Like where they.
Yeah.
That one. Yeah. Parasailing.
Parasailing. Yeah, parasailing.
There's a fly tormenting me. I was like, hell yeah, do that. Of course I want to do that.
Yeah.
So I go out there to the boat, and I guess the weather was bad. And the guy I was going out there with was the husband of like the original Betty Bonifay. She like originated swivel skiing. Her son actually was a champion, something Bonifay, champion wakeboarder.
I'm sorry, what's swivel? Okay, wakeboarding. Okay, so this is called swivel skiing. I don't know. Okay.
It's a ski, and when you stick your binding in, it spins 360.
Oh, what the hell? I've never seen that.
You have a rope, and you can do 360s on your ski and all kinds of crazy things, and ballet, and yeah.
Okay, cool.
So look up swivel skiing.
I'm gonna look it up. Yeah. We need.
Anyway,
We need.
so it was
Go
too.
on.
There was like too windy or something like that.
Mhm.
So I was like, "What's that thing?" And it was a swivel ski. And he's like, "That's a swivel ski." You know, like I was like, "Let me try." And you know, I grew up in the city of 100,000 lakes or whatever, Winter Haven. So I grew up on the water. You know, water skiing. That's what we would do after school. So I felt comfortable, you know, and I guess I got up and just was doing stuff right away. And he was like, "Fuck," you know, like there's a lot of these girls on the team. They practiced for years to do this stuff. So you know, you should do it. So that got me interested. And so everything at college kind of started to take a back seat. I was like, man, I want to get out there and do that. But you have to have the equipment. You have to have the right boats. You have to have a spotter because you put your foot in the rope and if you go down, somebody's got to pull it or you'll just get dragged to death. So, you know, it wasn't something I could really
do on your own. Yeah.
So then they were holding auditions and I went to audition, but the dude that was holding the auditions was this misogynistic, like, right away he was like, don't like her at all. And he totally like floored the boat and like just, he was not letting me get off that dock. And I was like, fuck, man, like I was really interested in that. But there was this girl who watched the whole thing and she would come to the bar a lot. And she was like, come by, you know, like she just started like taking me out. So I started learning how to do it and I got too good. I sound like such a cop. I got too good to, Amazon's here. I got too good too quick. And so that kind of made me an enemy of the entire team of swivel skiers.
Yeah.
So they just didn't want to put me into the lineup and stuff because they were just very like bougie, like, who's this chick? She used to wait on us across the street for cocktails, you know, why she thinks she can just come over here and start doing this shit. So they moved me to Orlando, to SeaWorld, where nobody would know that I had literally just started. So I went to Orlando, moved there, and started doing everything. So I the top of the pyramid and doing the swivel ski thing just didn't really do enough for me. So I started doing the jump ramps. Have you ever seen that? You know, have you ever seen a ski show? Where,
I've seen the ramps before. I didn't know it was swivel skiing, but yeah, like wakeboarding I've seen.
Yeah, well, this wasn't on a swivel ski. This was on jump skis.
Oh, okay, so, yeah.
Jump skis with the guys. So there'd be like 5 guys and me in the middle, and we all go over the ramp at the same time.
That shit's crazy. That sounds crazy.
Skiing and swivel, trick skiing and barefooting was fun. But anyway, so there I was, SeaWorld water skier for a couple of years. Didn't really fit in there either. Everyone would tell me I was weird. I mean, I grew up with everybody calling me weird. You know, you're weird. You're going to go to hell. You don't believe in religion. And because I grew up with my hippie mom and my sister, and we just didn't fit into a small southern town too well. But yeah, so they kept telling me I was weird too. And it was getting kind of old. But by that time, I had found the acid house scene. So this was like the very beginnings of the acid house scene. If anybody,
so like acid house is music.
Yeah, but there was this whole scene. The acid house scene was basically, it would start at like 2 a.m. and go till like 8.
Like raves.
And like our resident DJ was DJ Kimball Collins, who's like super uber famous now in the scene. And so I started going to the house scene, which made me even weirder to all the people I worked with, because I was listening to this music and they were like, that's not music.
They're like, that's not Skinner.
Like George Michaels and shit, you know, Wham. And here I was listening to you want to suck my what? You know, all this crazy.
Yeah. Totally.
So here I was even weirder to them. I'm part of the acid house scene. And so then
you were like, how could I get even weirder? I'll rollerblade too.
It wasn't intentional. So I got fired from skiing because there was a girl there that this is when my first lesson in not everyone is like you, you know, like some people are just shady motherfuckers and are just nasty people, you know, like, And I just did not grow up like that. So not in my wildest dreams would I have ever thought somebody would like have it out for me.
Yeah.
But she did, because I kind of took her spot in the boys lineup, you know, the jumps and stuff. And I guess she didn't like me very much. So she just made up everything that she could possibly make up, because they had a system where if you got marked up 3 times, they had no choice. Why is it Gmail can get away with the notifications? They fire you. So I was like, okay, sob, you know, I'm fired. I don't get to turn into a leather strapped piece of bacon being out in the sun, but it was a great time. It was super fun. Yeah. So I went fully into the acid house scene and was just working there. I worked they set up it was an old theater called Beecham Theater in downtown Orlando. And they set up what used to be the old projection room. I had come in to serve drinks. I was working at the bar. I had come in to work on Halloween with like this like glow in the dark type or black light. I looked like something from Blade Runner. And so the owners got the idea, because, you know, everybody's tripping balls on ecstasy and acid. And so everybody wanted to touch me all night. So they got the idea that, like, we're going to set you up. Because I was an artist as well. You know, when I was a kid, I was an artist. So I was like painting everybody. And they said, we're going to set you up with this theater projection room. I'm talking like 20 giant fluorescent black lights. So it just glowed in there. And I would be in there all night. Just people would come and give me things to paint or dripping crayons. I just got paid to fuck around in the black light and paint people all night.
You were definitely a weirdo.
Yeah, were you like tripping out too?
One of the owners was a professional electrician, like the kind of troubleshooting electrician that goes into like giant high rises. And I became an apprentice for him. So I started learning electric and doing the lights and all the stuff for like bands like Faith No More and all these crazy bands. But because of I hadn't even gotten there yet. There was a guy that came to the ski show looking for me. His name was Tom Edelston, and he did circus stuff. And he had come and seen a ski show, and he wanted to proposition me to work for him. But when he came there, I wasn't there anymore.
Plus, you already had the carny experience. You know what I mean? You already had the carnival experience.
Exactly. I already
so you're like, what's a circus? Small thing to a giant, you know?
Right. Yeah. So I went. I guess he was looking for me and tracked me down there and asked me if I would come do this circus show where I learned to do web, which is, you know, those ropes that you climb up and you see the girls being spun around on the ropes.
Yeah. Color ropes.
Yeah. So he taught me web, and I learned to do web and a little bit of trapeze and the floor stuff and everything. And so when I started doing the lights for all these bands and stuff, it was easy. You know, I'd be up on the rigging, and I remember they'd be so nervous. They're like, Angie, you know, we'll get a ladder. I'm like, dude, circus. So I'm like up on the rigging, hanging from my toes, like setting the lights for the bands and stuff. And they're like, what the fuck? But then that same group, they were going to go to California. And if there's one thing that I heard my whole life was, you should move to California. You're a weirdo. You'd fit in out there. So I was like, they're going to California. I'm in. So my whole thing with the whole web carnival thing was just to get a free ride out to California.
Nice.
And in the meantime, I had, you know, when we were on the ski team, you know, you wear a lot of makeup. It's very foofy, you know. It's like, you know, you're in a bikini 24/7. You're always performing for an audience. It's very ego oriented, you know, like ta-da and showmanship. And, you know, by that point, I was living on a dead commune. I'd been in the acid house scene. I dove deep into the dead. And I had done enough drugs at that point, LSD and mushrooms and everything, to where I literally, it's like
you can't be in that scene without that. That's like, it's part of it. Yeah.
And it's like I had revolted against my hippie, spiritual childhood. I had revolted by trying to become a yuppie, wearing the makeup, doing the stuff, going to the mall and shopping. And that was my revolt. And it's a certain point, I, of course, came back to my roots and was like, this isn't for me, you know. So like, out went makeup, out went, you know. At that point, I had like zero ego at all. It was like, you know, I wanted to like groove to music and be active and do stuff. And so here was this ticket out to California, and I took it. And it's funny because it was with all these like really fresh-faced, naive, young gymnasts, you know, who had led so much sheltered life, I think. And again, here I was, the sore thumb. But the funniest story of how I came out to California is because, like I said, I lived on a dead commune. I had this big house on the water in Florida, and all these.
When you say a dead commune, you mean like Grateful Dead?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
You know, we had our own set of bubble girls. We lived on the lake, and the night before I was to go, get in the car and drive across country to California with this like spandex fluorescent team of acrobatic nubiles. They held a party for me. So we were doing acid until like I was literally tripping balls when I showed up to this like 16-year-old dude's house with his parents, you know, cross on the wall, the furniture with covers on it. You can imagine the whole thing. We're about to get in a van, all of us, and drive to California.
Yeah, you show up looking like Charlie Manson and the Family, just tripping out, right?
I was like, you know, I was like full on like pupils this large.
Yeah.
Said goodbye to my friends, and I was like, it was the trippiest shit to be sitting in that living room waiting for everybody to get in that van.
Yeah,
but
I bet.
I don't think anyone's ever heard this story, so congratulations.
I love this story.
There's definitely a different take on it.
So I came out to California, and we were supposed to be going to, well, we did many stops along the way. I got to meet George Strait and see Dylan in Dylan's family seats at a show, because we were doing all these fairs, right. You know, like, and so we get to LA County. It was the LA County Fair, which one would assume is going to be in LA. Like, that's sure. My whole goal, right? No, yeah. That shit's in Pomona, man. That's like, it's way the fuck in the middle of nowhere.
You're right. So
I get out there and I'm like, what the fuck? This is the shittiest place ever. And I'm all by myself, you know, so I'm wandering around the fairground.
You're like, California sucks.
I'm like, what the fuck? And I look at a map and I'm like, I'm nowhere near LA or anywhere that I thought I would be. I have no car. Meh. So anyway, I'm walking around the fair looking for something to occupy myself other than cotton candy and bullshit. Somehow I'd taken these two little, they seemed like little carnival rats to me, so I kind of took them under my wing. So I was hanging out with like an 8 and a 9-year-old every day, because they were like the coolest people I could find. And
I love this story so much.
I went all the way to the other side of the fairgrounds, and I found this ramp, and it was the Gail Webb demo. So Gail Webb, Say No to Drugs. Yeah, like anyone.
Ironic.
I'm not familiar with the Gail Webb demo. What is that?
What's that?
I don't know what that is. What's the Gail Webb demo?
Gail Webb. You're asking what Gail Webb is?
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
Gail Webb is a woman that started putting together demos like back in the day with Primo and Diane were like this skateboarding duo.
We talking like late 80s here?
Yeah.
Okay. So like late 80s.
Primo and Diane worked with her, and she did all these demos with BMX and skateboard. And so her story was she survived a skydiving fall.
Oh shit.
I don't know how, but
her parachute didn't deploy and she survived?
Yeah, like
what the fuck?
She was a badass. She was like
clearly.
Just a real sweet woman though. Like, so her whole thing was living, you know, and like, so she took all these kids under her wing, and she would go and put up this half pipe. So I started hanging out there every day, obviously. And I met Jess Deerenforth, who was like doing the show, and Craig Campbell And
Just was on the bike back then, right?
yeah, he was on BMX. So, oh, bye. Husband leaving for work. Say bye, bye.
Bye. Working the late shift, huh?
Yeah, right.
Restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah. So, where was I?
You meeting Jess?
Gail, and you were saying she had like a half pipe. You were hanging out there. You met Just Danforth.
Yeah.
He was on a bike back then.
So I was like, huh?
Because Just Danforth was, for a lot of people who don't know, the guy who owned England and 50/50. He was a former pro BMXer.
Major pro BMXer.
Right.
So like, you know, he had come out from England, being a pro. You know, still didn't have his green card. What so many skaters have gone through here. You know, they want to come over to the U.S. and be a part of the scene and everything. Well, he was like, you know, upper echelon. Husband's back. Upper echelon of like pro riders. You know, like really well known. But it was kind of having a die off. You know, like there were no demos, there was no money, no sponsorships, and so forth. But he was doing this demo. And interesting story. I don't know if you guys know the story of Gator, but he used to ride for Gail Webb, and he was supposed to do a show the day he didn't show up, and they were like, "Where's Gator?" You know, but he had just murdered his girlfriend. So I don't know if you guys know the story of Gator, but
I definitely don't.
It's crazy. You know, look up
I
Gator.
love more. Internet, yes.
Gator and skateboard, and you'll hear a crazy story that you can look at there. But anyway, okay. So I started hanging out at,
No, I said okay. Go ahead. Sorry. I'm sorry. I'm completely captivated right now. Continue.
Bye again. I started hanging out there like every day because I was like, I'm so into these people. Right. You know, like I feel like brethren. And of course, they were into the house scene. I was like, yeah. So obviously, I wanted to like get on that ramp. So Jess let me bike. I started riding his bike. And it's funny, he came to see my show. And when he came to see my show, I was like, spin me fast. I like to be spun really fast on the web. And they spun me so fast that when I came down, the blood vessels in my eyes at first. And so my eyes were just solid red with like blue pupils in the middle, or blue dots. So that was my introduction to Jess. Those guys, I was like, hey, I'm a complete psycho. Check out my bloody eyes. But yeah, so I started getting on the BMX bike, and every day I would go over there and just get on the BMX bike, and I was having a blast. And so Jess, I can't remember how long the fair lasted, but it was long enough, and we all went to proper LA. They like took me to proper LA to a club scene, and the house scene, the rave scene back then was just phenomenal. So like, you know, we would show up on one occasion. This was actually after Jess had a demo in Malta. He was so fancy, so bougie for me back then. He was like, "You're going to Malta?" Right. So in Malta, at Craig Campbell, who also was a major pro BMXer and a skateboarder, and turned out to be kind of an infamous DJ in London. But he and I took off. I need to back up for a second and just clear this up. When my team was going to leave to keep going on with the tour, my trip was over. I was like, okay, I got here to California. I won't be going any further. So
no plans.
I'm out. And the guy that ran the show, his wife's sister stayed with me. Turns out they had a brother and had a place off the Sunset Strip. So I was like, oh, hell yeah. Okay, place to stay. Fine. So we stayed and went to this club, and it was like an old abandoned warehouse. But back then it was like you would just get word on the street that there was going to be an event. And, you know, people had pagers. So you'd get the pager number, you'd call the pager number, and you'd be given like, go to this intersection, talk to the homeless man. You go there, you talk to a homeless man, he hands you something. It's got a phone number on it. You call the phone number, they give you another. It was like a game of cat and mouse because they'd get busted.
Like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah. So eventually you end up in this like abandoned industrial warehouse. And this one night was just crazy. It's like the floors were falling in and the music was amazing and we're wandering all over the place. The next thing you know, SWAT team is there. Like they're just descending everywhere. There's helicopters and lights and cops and riot gear. And actually I have a photo from back then of me standing next to a cop in riot gear from that event, which is really cool.
Damn.
That's badass.
But anyway, so long story short on that, the fair ended. I decided to stay. I stayed with my friend's brother, whatever, that had the place on Sunset Strip for like a hot minute. She wanted to stay, but she was nervous about staying. And I'm like, dude, you've got family out here. I got nada. So I like literally got a plane ticket back to Florida to my dead compound, packed up all my shit, said goodbye to my boyfriend. He was there. And I took back off to California with $100 to my name. And I left that on the plane.
Oh, no.
No. I was more of a fish brain back then than most people. So I actually had nothing. But I had
you had $100 to your name and you left it on the plane.
Yeah, left it.
It's like a movie. It's like a TV show.
No,
it's really cool though because
that is a TV show.
They found me. I got my $100 back. Which meant a lot at that time.
That's incredible.
Fred Campbell was staying in Huntington Beach, upstairs of all the England guys had kind of converged in Huntington Beach at one point, all the skaters and BMXers and stuff from England. So there was just like this group of people similar to what you find, like on Hope's tour or whatever, or when stuff was bread and we had everybody just staying at the house. It was kind of like that, they had their own little compound of English pros. And so I ended up staying at Paul's house, Paul Wright. He's the guy that did the art for the Daily Bread magazine, that initial
the first
logo.
one. Yeah.
So I stayed at Paul's house, and at that time I'm still riding BMX, and I was going ramps, I was doing little airs, I was having fun with it.
Doing your thing, yeah.
Yeah, and then like I said, like the demos and stuff had died off, and the industry had kind of died off for BMX. So Jess was looking for ways to like monetize, to make a living.
Yeah.
And he'd heard about this rollerblade thing, that was going on, and he thought, well, maybe I can MC, maybe, he just wanted to get involved somehow because, you need to make a living or you're gonna have to get like a 9-to-5 or something. So he was kind of like working that scene, if you will. And I wanted to like give a call and response to Arlo because he was laughing at you for compressing history. Like when you get involved in something, everything that happens from the minute you get involved on is really crystal clear. It could be 2 months apart, but that era. Like, no, this was one era and that was another era. But everything that happened before you becomes like a flat 2-dimensional screen of everyone. Like you don't differentiate one thing from the other. So I was laughing because Arlo was laughing at you about compressing and then telling you how it was.
Yeah.
From my perspective, standing behind him, he was compressing and I was like, you're so funny.
Shit, damn.
It's funny how that happens because I want to set it clear from my perspective because I'm going to flatten behind me as well a little bit. I dug into it to know these facts a little more, but like basically you had this marketing thing going on with rollerblade that they wanted to hire people to pass out stuff on the boardwalk. They were trying to promote rollerblading or skates.
Wow, like that. That's crazy. That's an active campaign.
Yeah, it was like we're gonna hire people to go pass out shit on the boardwalk.
Wow.
So they looked around for people and just propositioned them. Well, Jill Schultz was a natural thing because, she was already kind of involved because of ice skating and that whole, they already had kind of a bond and she was doing like camps and stuff.
And rollerblades were super new at this point. Like just what, a couple years old?
Not even, I don't think. Well, maybe a year, I think.
They just came out rollerblades.
I could be wrong. Jill should call me up and be like, oh no, Angie, this is how it happened.
Yeah.
But from my understanding, there was like they got people from different walks of life, like you would do when you're trying to make a Benetton commercial. So they got Chris Morris, I think, was already in the mix from sort of a more corporate perspective and from just being a crazy motherfucker. And he did like freestyle skiing. And they found, of course, Jill was involved. Chris Mitchell was Jill's dance partner in ice skating. So that came in. And then there were like people that came in because they were like Deanna Wilshire and stuff who were like, pretty much what you would consider pro in roller skating dancing, like they competed in that and so forth. And then you had people like Kim Bowie, who was a dancer. She started as a dancer and then learned to dance on skates. And so you had these, and then they found Doug Boyce and Action Jackson on the actual Venice Boardwalk and propositioned them. So here you've got this conglomeration of like the real world and all these people. And then you've got something organic that happens, like Chris Edwards, organic. He got a pair of skates and started to define what that was going to mean to have a pair of skates.
Definitely.
He was, Jess took me the first time to see rollerblades in action. And I saw Chris Edwards on a ramp. And I was like, holy shit.
Like, can you talk about that first time you ever saw rollerbladers? Like, or Chris Edwards, I guess? Like, what was that like?
That was the first thing I ever saw was Jess took me and I saw Chris Edwards airing out of a ramp and just went, his style, I don't know if there was ever a time that he ever did anything on a pair of skates and it didn't look like phenomenal. It's like he was just
so much confidence in his style, in his skating.
He was born the airman.
Yeah.
He was a god. God damn this sun.
You roasting over there?
Can you see me?
Not yet. There we go.
Fuck this. I have a palm tree. I have such dots in my eyes right now that I can't even see. Okay, so
having a flashback.
That first time, it's just literally on the other side of my face now, right?
You got a little shade on the right eye, it looks like.
Oh, I know. I've got a cock. So, I was blown away, but I didn't know anything about anything. I'm like this hippie, acid house, Grateful Dead, crazy. I remember Jess would always be like, do you know what could happen? Because I would just go for shit, just kamikaze style. And he'd be like, do you know what could happen if you missed your peg on the coping there? And I'm like, I don't want to think about that shit. I'm not thinking about what can go wrong. This is just fun. So, where was I? I keep losing myself.
So you're seeing Chris Edwards, the first guy you ever saw, and he's incredible. Your first experience seeing someone on blades. Sorry
for my half-timers. Yeah, so I, at that point, things move really fast at that point, like everything's moving fast when you're that age. And
how old were you at this point?
22.
Okay.
I'm really, really bad with time, dates, everything.
Low 20s.
Twice I've lost my birthday. Once it was in my favor and once it was not. I was a year older than I thought. This year I forgot it, and turns out I'm a year younger, which yes.
It happens.
But so Jess at that time was talking to Doug Boyce. So, you have this real world constitution of people, just everybody kind of figuring out what's what. But you've got something in the roots of it. You've got a dancer, you've got an ice skater, you've got a roller skater, you've got a skateboarder, you've got a performer. AJ was just a whatever, If surf was, we used to laugh because it was like, oh, if surf is hot this week, next time we see AJ, he'll have racks on the top of his car, like it just was whatever was going on. He was the man,
yeah.
So you had this thing, and to me, that's the two-dimensional wall. So my entry point was Doug Boyce, and that's what I was focused on, like Chris Edwards and Doug Boyce. Like Chris was like younger, so his personality at the time was like immature to me at that time, and he was very, very religious and stuff. So I didn't bond with him on that level, and we didn't really hang out at that time because he was just like this sort of demigod on vert. So it was kind of a different thing. Like Chris has always been in a world all his own over here. So when I talk about vert service or the past or whatever, just consider that hovering over in a corner somewhere, very important, is Chris. He's there. He's always there. Yeah. He's always been there. He just was, it was like Elvis, you know, Elvis wasn't hanging out with the band. You know?
He was hard to connect with.
He was always over there.
What an example.
So Jess told Doug, because Jess and Doug knew each other, because, you know, BMX, skateboarding, they bonded, and Doug's an artist and a musician. So, you know, you're talking about like-minded people. So Jess was talking to Doug one day and said, yeah, I met this girl and she's riding BMX, you know, and she's already like doing airs on a mini and stuff. You should give her a pair of skates. And Doug was like, yeah, man, send her my way. So he lived in Long Beach at the time. And I was still living above the liquor store at Paul's place. Or I may have moved in with Jess and Hans at the time. I don't know. Shit's crazy. But
I love this.
When I got out there, obviously I had no job or anything. And since my girlfriend's brother, whatever, on the Sunset Strip, I was like, I have an East Coast work mentality. I was like, I got to get to work. I need to like make money. So I just went into the first bar I went to and was like, can I get a job? And they hired me. It was Gazzari's, which is like where the Doors played and shit. I had no idea. Like I like walked straight into this like world famous bar and was like, but at that time, rock music was just dying, you know, like hard rock and stuff.
Yeah.
So there I was in Huntington Beach, driving all the way to LA. No idea how ridiculous this was at the time. I'm driving all the way to LA to a job where I'm going to work 3 hours and serve 2 people banging their heads so hard to like heavy metal. They can't even hear me. So I'm buying a 6-pack on the way and then selling that 6-pack and splitting it with the bartender. It was the only way we could make any money. So I would make $10. He would make $10. And gas was probably costing me 20 back and forth. So it wasn't the brightest decision ever. But so that was happening. And I got another job in Orange County. I'm like cocktail waitressing, whatever. And Jess gets me hooked up with Doug. And of course I'm like, fuck yeah, you know, like I'm working as a cocktail waitress. I would love to go and get a pair of skates and like try these on and like, I don't even know what was in my mind. I don't think anything was, you know, like, I didn't even know what the hell. It was just, I was just going with the flow of whatever. Here I am in California and nobody's calling me weird anymore. So I remember driving to Long Beach and meeting Doug out in a parking lot. I guess it was his apartment complex. I don't know, but it was just a parking lot. And he gave me these skates that I would give my right nut if I had one. I would give it to have these skates back. But I gave them to, did you ever hear of Dan and Ruth's Sign-In Bowl? It was like,
no.
If you type that into Google, it was like another famous skateboard spot. But we used to go there and ride. And they had these kids everywhere. Their house was just nuts. And they had these kids running around everywhere. And there was this little girl that was a total thrasher. And I gave her my skates. And I'm happy I gave her my skates. But man, I would do anything to have those. They were hand painted by Doug. And they were the early Zetras, and they had a nail that stuck through the toe. And so every time I would skate, my toes would bleed, you know, because Doug
Or the nails
like,
in there.
They were like being fashioned. They weren't being made like they were today. That was actually the reason Doug quit. He like really, I don't know if he broke his ankle, but he hurt himself really badly. And he was always trying really hard to get skates made for the type of thing that he was doing, because he wasn't just dancing on them or, you know, he was skating on them like they were, he would jump on things and
some DIY skates.
Yeah. So anyway, I vividly remember being in that parking lot and putting those skates on for the first time. And just, that was it. I fell in love. Like, I did not want to take those skates off. I was just like, this is it. I love this feeling because, you know, if you've ever roller skated and you get that bum, 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 it's another reason why I would never, ever, ever ride flat. Am I saying flat? Anti-rocker, flat. I would never ride. I never wanted to put on little wheels. I never wanted to do anything that took away that feeling of the smoothness of just being able to just ride. Right. You know, I had a problem with that. So I fell in love with it immediately, and that was it. From then on, Jess was on his bike and I was on my blades, and we would go every single day to the skate park. You know, that was our lives. That was it. Every single day to the skate park, and just having a blast. So I like started like 4 different stories all at the same time. So I'll just stay with the one. Cool. We're going to the skate park every single day, and I'm just loving life. I'm still cocktail waitressing, and then, you know, and Doug was my entry point. I identified with Doug. Had anyone else given me the skates, I'm not sure it would have happened that way, but I identified with Doug. You know, he was an artist and a musician, and we were of like mind, and I was looking for a family. You know, after a lifetime of being told I didn't fit in, you know, obviously I fit in with my mom and my sister because they're just as weird as I am. But like, you know, being told I don't fit in and having other family members that are either, you know, from the South, they're like either highly religious or misogynistic or racist, you know, whatever. It's like, I just never, I was like, I'll make my own damn family, you know, like, and so I think I was always trying to make my own family somewhere, you know, a group of people where I fit in and could share life. And that
I can relate to that for sure.
Right? Yeah. That's what we're all for. We're all looking for a tribe called Quest. No, just
shout out. It's a quest. It's a tribe. You know.
You know, maybe I was looking harder than anyone else because by that time I floated through so many different scenes and like been in and out. But so if anyone else would give me the skates, it may have been different. But I fell in love, and so I was skating every day, and then Jess or someone said to me, hey, Rollerblade wants you to come audition for them. And I was like, yeah.
How long did that take?
The big show.
Yeah. Like, I was like, what do you mean? And, you know, so they had the dance team. There wasn't a stunt team at that time, but they would kind of try to get Chris to do stuff, but he really wouldn't. He, you know, of course he didn't want to do that, you know. But they really wanted to focus. That's where all their energy was. They wanted to focus on this dance team. This was the marketing branding team they put together to sell skates. So I was a little bit ignorant about that. I didn't know anything about that side of it. I met Doug. Doug gave me skates. I'm going to the ramps. Boom. I see Chris skating. I don't know anything about any of this other shit that's going on. So I'm like, yeah, I'll audition. Why not? You know? So I get there, and they used to have this like an industrial office space, you know, those kind of in the row warehouse type things that they have everywhere. Parks, industrial parks, warehouse parks. I don't know the name of them. I have one too, but I don't know what they are.
Industrial park sounds right. Business park, business park, corporate.
They had this like half pipe, beautiful half pipe, you know, like masonite, so smooth, not a ding in it, you know, like no holes, no nails, just perfect. So I'm drooling. I'm like, I'm gonna skate that. Yeah. So I'm skating, you know, just having a good old time. And Rollerblade had actually hired a choreographer from LA named Andrea. She reminds me of the woman that you see on that has the kids that she teaches to dance. Dance Moms or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
She reminded me of this woman that like is just a dance, you know, like hit it, do this, you know, and so she was in charge of this team, you know, like she put it all together. So I'm auditioning for her, and so I auditioned, and then right afterwards she came to me and she was like, "Okay, so we want to hire you." And I'm thinking, fuck yeah, I get to quit my job cocktail waitressing. I'm gonna get paid to skate. Hell yeah. And she's like, but can you do lifts? And I'm like, yeah. You know, like.
What is that?
Well, like, I don't know if you've ever seen like a ski show where they lift the girls.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Whatever, or like cheerleading where you do lifts.
Yeah.
Or
ice skating, they do that too, yeah.
Ice skating. So I'm like, yeah. But you see, at that point in my life, I was done. You know, like I had seen behind the curtain. It was like I'd had a fingernail completely ripped out from the core. You know, the show must go on, you know, perform. And I had taken a lot of drugs and I was a deadhead and I had no ego and I did not give a shit about performing. I hated it. I hated the mentality behind it. You know, like I'm feeding off of your adoration. I did not like it. You know, like for me, skating was something I did on my own for me. I achieved my own goals. There was no tool. There was nobody else. It was just, I'm not doing it for claps. So I always used to have a really big problem with certain skaters that would get on the ramps and do like this. I'd be like, I really couldn't stand it, you know, like any kind of, and you know, I shouldn't have gotten so frustrated about it because, you know, they were younger and in a different place. But like for me, I was in a place where I was like adamant about, I want to be around like-minded people. I don't want to be around egos. I don't want to be around drama. I don't want to be around materialism. I don't want to be around that. And I felt like
you were a deadhead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I had found something pure. And the friends I was creating were family to me, and it was pure. And actually, when I got home from trying on those skates, I forgot that part. Like Paul was saying to me, he was like, Angie, what are you doing? You know, like stick with skateboarding, stick with BMX. He's like, you know, like, he knew, you know, like roller fag stuff was like just in my headline. And I was like, I don't give a shit.
Oh, was that like a thing already? Like right when it came out?
Yeah, I didn't think it was that early either.
Oh, yeah, that was a thing. I mean, how could
Off
it
the
not?
bat.
You've got skateboarders on the boardwalk in
Sure.
Venice, pros, and then you've
Right.
got like fluorescent day glow spandex, like AJ going by and going, what? Yo, 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 yo. You know, it's like,
Right.
not, those two things were different worlds, you know,
Right.
those
Doesn't, yeah.
completely different worlds.
So,
so
wow, from the beginning, it was roller fags, huh?
The beginning was the problem for us. It was always the problem for us because marketing and capitalism in America did not want us. We were an accident. We were not a planned thing. And I was actually reading through some old magazines yesterday because I was like, so in the moment with everything that I needed to, like, I'm going to start reading my own damn magazine and stuff because it's like I was on NZT Limitless and just filtering everything through me, but not experiencing it. So like, I think I watched Dare to Air and then I'm not sure I ever watched another video. I never read my magazine because when you're editing it and rewriting everyone's stories, because the grammar is the same grammar that you would have if you were like an 18-year-old writing a skate story. So like it's harder to write someone else's story than it is your own. So I had to walk a fine line between keeping their story theirs, but making it so that people could read it and like understand and enjoy it, you know? So when you're doing that all the time, the last thing I want to do when the magazine would come off the press was read the damn thing. I've been reading it for like days and days, you know? So I want to now go back and read everything because I'll read stuff and I'll be like, oh, this is interesting. I'm like, oh, I wrote that.
That's funny. I have an issue of Daily Bread 1 here, and I actually was reading it the other day too.
Oh, yeah. I have so many funny stories to tell about that. So I'm going to try to fast forward the other portion of this. So I auditioned.
You don't have to.
I can do lifts, you know, and I'm like, here comes my battle, the battle that would never end, it seemed, because I had left that world goodbye. Yeah, I know how to do it. I don't want to do it. And now you're telling me I have to choose between cocktail waitressing or getting paid to vert skate. And I might have to do some dancing. You know, like it was like a really, really hard thing for me because I did not want to be involved. So I sucked it up. Neighbors are like, she's standing there talking to a microphone. I've got you guys draped over my grandfather's mic.
Yeah. Well, hey, this is the world today. You know, we're in a coronavirus.
Yeah,
Zoom is the standard now. So
I'm standing here holding a cock, talking to the microphone.
You got a cock in your hand. You're talking to yourself. Your neighbor's like, "What's happening?"
Yeah. So I was like, okay, I gotta like, do this dance thing a little bit because they really roped me in. They said it's just going to be this one time. They're going to do ASR. And so, you know, I got to skate with Pat and Jess. Or no, Jess wasn't skating yet. Pat and Chris Edwards, Jimmy Trimble, Tim Gantz, you know, John Tyson, those guys. There was a pot brewing of people that would become our industry. So I got to skate with all them and do the thing. And I got, you know, kind of like awakened into this action sports world that I didn't really know existed that way, you know? So that was really eye-opening for me. I was just learning so much about everything. But then they wanted me to go and it's like, okay, well, we're gonna send you with the dance team to, you know, Texas or to this or to that. And I went along with it for a little bit, but it didn't last long until I was just like being a complete asshole, you know, like, no, I'm not gonna practice. I would show up, I wouldn't even know what the fuck to do. They'd be dancing around me. I'd just stand there.
You were the opposite of everyone else on the team.
I'm sorry, Deanna, Eric Wiley, Chris Mitchell, any of you guys that are like listening to this, I'm very sorry. I know I was very hard to like deal with. Especially you, Jill, sorry. But you know, it wasn't me. It wasn't where I wanted to be. It wasn't what I wanted to do. So, and I definitely did not want to be a part of anything that had to do with just marketing and, you know, that just the whole thing just wasn't me. Didn't want to be there. So I was getting a lot of shit at that time, you know, getting called things like a dyke and a leather G-string. At one
That's
point,
harsh.
like you're going to wake up someday and realize you're a girl. Or, you know, like, why don't you wear something a little more sexy? You know, you look ridiculous in these baggy clothes. And so I went through a lot of bullshit like that and everything. And I was like, you know what? Fuck you, Too Tall. I'm talking to you, Too Tall. You know, no. One of these days, you're going to realize that this is exactly who I am. And there's more people like me. And, like, I'm just going to keep doing what I love to do. So, you know, there was just a big battle going on back then that nobody's aware of that thinks the two-dimensional. So my struggle was.
Could you elaborate on that a little bit? Like about the battle? Like
I'll elaborate that shit because that's everything. It's everything.
Yeah.
That's the seed that became everything. Basically, me being an asshole and the angst, kind of like that sounds like a lot of credit. It's not like that. I'm saying that the path I walked on, that was the beginning of it. So, very early on, like right after I had done the audition and stuff, I stole a pair of skates from Rollerblade. Yeah, I stole them. I've said this numerous times, but nobody's come after me yet, so I'm all right, I think. They kept all those skates for the demo vans and stuff in the warehouse. And so, you know, here was Jess, who was just, I don't know why no one thought to give him a freaking pair of skates, you know, like, but they just, maybe he was being polite. I don't know. But like, I stole a pair of skates for Jess. So then when we would go to the skate park, Jess started getting on skates. So then we were both rollerblading. And so, you know, we started to like, another neighbor, we started to form our own little thing. And like I said, Chris was over here. And in Orange County was me, Jess, and Pat. So we started like really bonding together as like a core thing, you know? And we called ourselves Vert Service. And, you know, Pat had come from an action sports background. Jess had come from an action sports background. And actually we were living at the time in Laguna Beach with Doug, who had already stopped skating, but was still there surfing, being Doug.
Not a bad place to live.
Huh? Not
a bad place to live.
Oh, no. We had an amazing place. It was like me, Jess, Doug Boyce, and Hans Ray, who's a professional mountain biker. And just this big house up on a like cliff overlooking it was amazing, unbelievable. So, you know, that was it. We were skating every day and we started to form our own little thing. And I think because I had already gone through, I was a little bit older than some of the skaters, and like I had already gone through so many things, you know, being on the road, being in the carnival, being in the circus, being in the ski show, you know, like I had seen marketing, I had seen the whole thing. Jess had seen it as well. you know, from being a pro and so forth, but not from the dirty side of it. Like I had seen, you know, he didn't have to put on spandex and ever do this and, you know, like perform like a monkey. So for me, it was like I had already experienced those things and wanted nothing to do with them. So I was more anarchic about everything. I was more, fuck you. This is skating. Nobody's going to touch that. This is what we are. And no one's going to fuck with it. Like, I already had that mentality, you know, like,
I love that.
That was it. So, you know, back up a little bit to Rollerblade is sending me out with the dance team. What I'm finding is they're sending us to some places that had nothing to do with it, but they'd send us to skate parks, you know, which was humiliating for me. But I had a plan because every time we would do a show, these skaters, there'd be skaters there. And I'd be like, hey, just hang on to your horses. You know, back in California, we've got this shit going on. There's more of us, you know, we're going to be doing this shit. Just keep it up, you know, whatever. So I was always out there seeing things that no one else that was skating was seeing because Rollerblade wanted nothing to do with promoting that aspect or sending anybody out or making products or anything. But I was seeing it. And then came Australia.
We lost your video real quick, Angie.
You know, I turned all this shit off.
Oh, there you go.
It is. Sorry about that. I went to Australia, had a scene that was developing just like us, but they did not have the marketing. You know, the skates landed there, but without a company like Rollerblade pushing a specific image, those guys were free to just let it organically grow. They weren't being suppressed. So Rollerblade had this thing where they would, even in areas like that where like skating was like growing organically, and it wasn't growing with people dancing. Like nobody was organically doing that, you know, like not really. It was growing with either people speed skating or mostly speed skating or just using it for transportation. And so Rollerblade would get a call from someone, say these guys in Australia, and they would ask for Team Rollerblade and they would get sent the dance team. Well, the dance team didn't even know how to get on a ramp. So Rollerblade started insisting that, because we started gaining a lot of traction, Rollerblade started insisting that the dance team learn how to aggressive skate. So those guys were having to train, you know, to like learn how to do it, which of course just pissed me off more because I was like, none of these guys are coming home and then heading out to Moreno Valley to skate. It's just going, they're training for a role, you know, like acting. And I love those guys to death, but that was hurting what we were doing, you know, like I don't have any angst toward them or about them. I had angst toward the industry and what it was doing. You know, I did not approve of like what was happening. So I guess at one point they had sent the dance team out. And I think, so a lot of skaters in Australia, like, and New Zealand, like Brooke, I think met Chris Mitchell for the first time in the faux role. So I have a love-hate relationship with Mitchell because, you know, to me, he was a dancer and always stayed a dancer. But that's wrong with me because, of course, he can transition and become whatever he wants. I just know that once, I don't know, I'm just going to leave that alone. You know, that was my history with it and so forth. So that two-dimensionality we were talking about, where your beginnings come into what you see first. So if Rollerblade is sending the dance team out, to a lot of people in our industry, their roots started with something that wasn't real. And it was actually back home a problem, you know, that was going on. We were sitting there. We were back in Cali going to the skate parks. And these guys were going out, and skaters in other places were identifying that as their roots and Team Rollerblade, while the real skaters were back home, not getting sent anywhere. So rollerblading had like a really big issue with sending us out because the skating was getting really big. People were getting hurt. There were lawsuits, stuff like that. They wanted to minimize. They wanted to show how easy it was, how safe it was. They made these skate safe programs. They developed the International Inline Skating Association. They were doing everything, you know, to make sure that sales maintained and whatever. and we were like this thorn that was just scaring the shit out of people. Like, my kid's not going to do that, you know. Like, we were a detriment to sales in their eyes, so they were just, you know, like hiding us over here, didn't want us to be marketed. But there was no stopping a tidal wave. I mean, imagine someone trying to like stop that. It was not going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the next year, the guys from Australia called and they insisted. They were like, no, you send us top male and female. I don't know. They must have known there was a female, which is kind of weird. Vert skaters. There was no street at the time. So it was just me and Chris. Me and Chris got sent to Australia. And that's when I met Scott Bentley, Tom Fry, all those guys, you know, like it was like, when I saw what they were doing, I came home to Jess and Pat and was like, guys, shit is so real in Australia. Like, they're a mirror image of us minus the suppression, you know, like shit is happening over there. Like, they've got amazing, like they had Team Manly, Team Apache. They were just allowing themselves to, of course they had some of the like other shit going on because the only people doing media at that time were already established media outlets. They didn't know any better. So it was always like, oh, here's this and here's this and here's this. And it was all mixed together. And so I'm not sure how long after that it was, but we did this tour we called the Sketchy Bastard Tour, where by that time Rollerblade had kind of given in, but they assigned a speed skater to be our team manager and sent us on this tour in Australia. And it was just ridiculous. I mean, we were going to buildings to do a vert demo where we couldn't stand up straight on the top of the ramp.
Like the roof is too low? Saying Chris can't do his 10-foot airs.
Yeah, it was hilarious. But, you know, we were meeting all these guys. And so, you know, Jess had already at that point planted the seed in my head about, you know, coming from the action sports industry like he did. He knew the steps that needed to be followed. So he was like, we need a magazine. You know, we need something to represent us, because all these other magazines just mush everything together. And I've told that other story so many times, you know, like we're over in Australia and many times they would try to get us to pose like speed skaters and stuff. I'll just suffice to say I've said enough about that. The bottom line is there was a battle for our identity, and I looked like an asshole, but it was important to me. It was like we're a tribe and we need to wear our tribal outfit, because, you know, it's like I can go on a job interview and bring a homeless dude with me, but I'm probably not going to get the job. I don't have any problem with that homeless dude. He's my friend. But more than likely, I'm not representing myself properly if I come to, you know, my husband gives me shit because I have the worst examples. Like, I help you to not understand things is what I do. But to me, it was just really important. It's like we needed to identify with ourselves, because to me, that was family. We all had a similar mentality about it. We were doing it for a reason. It meant something to us. It was a passion. You know, to me, it was always an art, still is. And it's just something that we needed to do, you know, we needed to do it.
So that's when you decide you knew we had to brand ourselves. You knew we had to like you had to make something of this, define it. So that's,
we had to define ourselves, who the fuck we are. No, that's not us. This is us. Mm-hmm. So, you know, like we're doing demos at skate at races and this and other. It's like we come from roots already. We had already come from action sports. And we were trying to be ripped away from our own culture. It's like, no, we would never go there. We would never do that. We would never dress like this. We would never listen to that music. We would never hang out here. You're not getting it. Like, we didn't come here to perform a role. This is our life. This is who we are. And it means something to us to stay true to our own character and what we like and what we don't like. This is why we do it. And it's like, there's a reason why we put on rollerblades and skate, when the cool thing to do would be to skateboard or to do something else. We're not afraid of being called roller fags. We're not afraid of any of that. We're gonna do it anyway. So it's like, if we're willing to do that, to roll around in these things, and we're not looking for applause or anything. Like, really, do you think we're going to be okay with pretending to be something we're not if we're already okay with being something that nobody else wants us to be? Like the mentalities just did not gel. And so for me, at that point, I was on a mission, you know, like it became I had already gotten fired several times from Rollerblade by that point, but
several times.
I would get a lot of press. This is this guy Neil Feynman that did another magazine, and again, it was one of those magazines that combined everything together and so forth. But he liked me, and I liked him, and he gave me a voice. So he allowed me to like continue to speak out, and I just kept getting hired back. I mean, number one, I was the only female vert skater in the world. It's not like they could replace me. And number two, I had a big fucking mouth, and I was going to speak up about this stuff. And number three, there was a tidal wave coming, you know? And so, you know, like in Australia, they had switched from Italian-made plastics because Rosas started making their own skate to Korean-made plastics that were flimsy. And like I said, that's one of the reasons that Doug quit, is because the products weren't being manufactured for what we were doing. You know, they were being made for recreational, and they weren't being made to the standards we needed them made to protect us and our feet and to be able to do what we're doing. So they'd already lost Doug over that. You know, he was just, fuck it, I'm not doing this. And, but I wasn't gonna I was at a shop I think it was in Melbourne, and I was at a shop, and this mom was asking me, you know, like, what her kids should get, and the kids like there and everything. And I'm like, well, I had literally just taken a fall at Bondi ramp and tweaked my ankle really hard because I was used to being able to like, maybe I missed the transition a little bit and land on the flat, and my skates would hold me. When I was on the Italian made plastics, you know, like I could drop from a 10-foot air and land in the bottom and not whatever. But this time I didn't know any better. I was on Korean plastics, and when I landed in the bottom, my ankle just gave. And so I tweaked it really hard. I was out for weeks with that. So I was like, the first thing I said to this kid and to his mom, I was like, well, first thing, look at it and see if it's made in Italy or made in Korea. If it's made in Korea, go buy it somewhere else where it's made in Italy. Because I'm not going to let this kid go out and tweak his ankle, you know, like, no. Well, I got flown all the way to Minneapolis to be reprimanded for that and fired, you know, like, because I lost a sale for that shop because they called back or whatever. And it's like, I told him, I'm like, look, I don't give a fuck about your sales.
Oh, shit.
I don't give a fuck about this job. I give a fuck about that kid. And I give a fuck about him skating and enjoying what I enjoy with it and, you know, for the rest of his life. So
that's right.
You know, I was not a liked person on any of those fronts. So that happened several times. And, you know, of course, the last time everyone knows with Dare to Air, because we had by that time had contracts written up. And the contract we were presented with, I sat down with all the guys and I'm like, look, we got to take this out of the contract, this, and this. I'm like, there needs to be, like, if we work overtime from where we're being sent, then there needs to be overtime pay. And they were treating it like it was an after-school hobby. And I'm like, no, this is our job. You know, like, if we're going to work for them, we are working for them because we're going to do this with or without this job. So if we're going to, like, you know, we're not doing it for the job. We're going to keep doing it. We can go get another job. So, but if we're going to be skating, then here's the contract. You take us seriously as athletes. If we want to, you know, at that time they wanted to like sell us off, you know, like, oh, Team Rollerblade sponsored by Coke. And it's like, no, you don't understand the way action sports works. We get to sponsor. We get to choose our sponsors. You know, if I'm going to wear a sticker on my helmet, it's going to be of my choosing. I'm not branded. You know, like, I'm going to choose who I identify with, and I'm going to represent what I believe in. So we made it so that we could get our own sponsors. We made it so that, you know, we couldn't just be kept around the clock, you know, like doing whatever. And we made it so that if we requested to do something on our own, because me, Pat, and Jess at that time had formed Vert Service. There was no street, so, you know, Vert Service, that's all we did. So that we could do our own demos, you know, and go out and actually do stuff that where we felt comfortable, you know, that we identified with. So we made this contract where like if we made a request to do something and we didn't get a response for a certain period of time, then it was an automatic yes, you know, because we can't just wait forever. We need to like make commitments or answer back to it. So we had gotten that in the contract. And so we had these proper professional contracts by this time. And when it came to when Sean Tomlin and Morgan were putting together Dare to Air, they booked that tour in Japan. For us, this was going to be the very first time we were getting sent out, because it wasn't Rollerblade. It was those guys, and they believed in us, and they were part of this, and we were all family. And by golly, they were going to make a video, and they were going to like send us out. And I was already like had the seed in my mind. I'm starting on a magazine, so we're starting to form our own.
So Sean Tomlin and who?
Morgan Young. Why did I say Morgan Stone? Yeah. I did say Morgan Stone, didn't I?
No,
I don't think so. I think you were talking about Evan Stone, but I don't think you said that.
Morgan, shit.
But yeah, Sean Tomlin and them went on to do VG, Video Groove, and all that.
Yeah. So
and Dare to Air was like the first video ever, right?
Remember that warehouse I told you about where I went to audition?
Yeah.
Morgan and Sean worked there.
Okay.
So they worked in the office, and Rollerblade had been asked to send skaters over for the 1992 Olympics, the Winter Olympics in Albertville, France.
What?
And that was my first European trip ever. So initially they were going to just send the guys and Morgan and Sean. And I'm like, dude, like I'm a fucking pro skater and you're sending the guys that work in the office. But they didn't want to sit. They were starting to do like little demos, like maybe 1 or 2 demos, and they were putting the skaters in the van. And again, it was that thing like, well, what's it going to look like if you guys roll up and 5 guys pull out and 1 girl? Oh, I don't know. It's going to look like I was gang raped in the back of the van. What?
What a crazy thing to think of.
Yeah. So they didn't want to send me. So I fought, and I got to go. So, and it's really funny too, because, and by that time there was a New York team Rollerblade. So it was Shira McComb, me, Nick Hartman, Eddie Campos, Jess, Pat, John Tyson, Jimmy Trimble, Tim Gans. I can't remember who else. It was
Tim Gans. I heard a lot about back in the day, and like he was Gans? Like, yeah.
Tim Gans is like the who's that? It's a TV movie that's super famous. Never mind. Moving on. He was an anomaly. Tim Gans is awesome. He's just awesome. He's like I want to say Bear Grylls or something, but that's not the right.
Not the right guy.
Movie with the dude. He's like a hippie, and that's not Tim Gans either. Whatever. Moving on.
All right, moving on.
I liked him, but that trip was really, really awesome. And it was really funny because they had built this thing. It looked like a giant S or something, but it went up like, I could be exaggerating. I think it was like 20 feet or something. And it was rounded on the bottom. And, sorry.
There you go. You're back.
Dude. The ending, the getting rid of the notifications thing just does not work. So there was this thing, and the idea that the guy had, famous dude that put the things together, it was like a big acid trip. The whole thing was just amazing. But his idea was he had these 2 guys that were going to walk down the side. It would go flat like this, and it had like a rounded bottom. It would go flat, and these 2 guys would walk up on the end of it when it was flat, and then they would start walking. And as they would walk, it would, and the skater would like position themselves here. And then as it rose, the skater would ride down. But it was just a thin piece of plywood, and you were being hoisted like 20 feet up in the air, holding onto the back of this thing. And then you were just going to hope that it was flat by the time you got.
That sounds sketchy as fuck.
Well, kamikaze over here. They didn't want to send me at first. Guess who was the first one to do that shit?
Nice.
Every one of those dudes was like, hell no. I'm all like, I'll do it.
Damn, you were first up. Damn.
Oh yeah. I was so kamikaze back then. Like now it's a miracle to me that I'm still alive. Like, it's a miracle. But anyway, that was an amazing trip. But that was like the only thing we'd all done together.
That's
and
like the beginning of like when blading started to like have an identity, right?
Blading had an identity right away. Skateboarders and everyone saw what that identity was. We were on a path from the very get-go to break away from that and form our own identity. We were nowhere even close yet. Like,
that's cool. Straight pioneers.
We were out there in droves. I mean, I had seen it when I happened being sent around with the dance team. I saw it when I went to Australia. Jess and Pat saw it once they actually went to Australia on the Sketchy Bastard tour. And so we knew we were there in the numbers. I was going to correct Gav Drum because he was saying in one of the first issues that I like was like it was like a call out to skaters. No, what it was I mean, there was that too. That's in there. I think he converged the two together. But basically, what it was for the first issue. I'll back up just one quick second just to end that thing with Dare to Air. So we had requested to Rollerblade to go do Morgan and Sean's Dare to Air tour. We didn't get a response back. So we told Morgan and Sean yes. And I mean, of course, we were going to do this no matter what. But then Rollerblade got wind of it. They were paying attention all of a sudden and they were like, oh no, we're going to send the dance team. And we were like, you know, we have something else booked. That's what they would say. There's a conflict because we're already sending the dance team. And we would be like, so I said to Pat and Jess, you know, like, and I've told this story a million times and they probably hate it when I tell it, but they were like, Angie, keep your mouth shut. You know, like you're going to get us fired. To me, I didn't give a shit if I got fired. I only had one mission and one mission only, and that was to build this industry. You know, like I didn't care. If anything got in the way of that, then it just had to go anyway. So we got there to Minnesota and we were sitting around with Deb Autry at the time, who was like in charge. She had been put in as in charge of, I don't remember what her title was, but she was like, no, you know, if you guys go, you're fired. And I was like, but it's in our contract. And she's like, no, it's not. And she goes and gets the contract. And she's like, you know, grounds to fire you right here. You know, like if there's, I'm like, you're looking at the wrong contract, Deb. I'm like, show me a signature because that's not the one we signed. So she had gotten the contract that they had presented to us and not the contract that we had negotiated. So when they brought back the actual real contract, I mean, I've told this story so many times, she just pounded her fists on the desk. She's like, you are not in marketing. And I was just like, you know, and that was it. We were fired. So we were then, we went from being team bird service to team. Yeah. So, you know, yeah, kind of. But like I said, it didn't matter to me, you know, like I never had anything to lose because I never wanted anything, you know.
You were focused. You had your eye on the prize. You had a goal. Yeah.
I could give a shit about fame. I could give a shit about attention. I could give a shit about money. I'd been through all of that, you know, and it was like, no, I don't care about anything except being around like-minded people, doing something pure, feeling good about it, being an artistic expression, and just like having this family of people. Like I was, you know, shit talking and drama, backstabbing, egos, just no, you know, like turns out, funny story, you know, I got taken out by that, but whatever, I still stayed true to myself the whole time. So I'm happy with however, but so we went ahead and went on the Dare to Air tour and it was amazing. And that was, by the time the Dare to Air tour came up, Dare to Air had been or was being released. I actually managed somehow miraculously to have the first issue of Daily Bread with me on that Dare to Air tour.
Okay, so do you mind if we back up just a second? Like,
yeah.
How did you get to creating the first issue of Daily Bread? Like, how did you conceptualize that, come to the name? Like, what was the origin story of that?
This shit always happens to me. I was just taking a shower and the name popped in my head. Did not think about it one little tiny bit.
That's it, just came to you.
And it was like, Daily Bread. All right, yeah, I'm gonna call it Daily Bread.
Nice and easy.
No thought at all was put into the name. Had no idea. Like, just had no idea. So I was still living in Laguna in that house at that time. We were in Australia And, you know, it was supposed to be me, Pat, and Jess, and we were going to make this magazine together. And I think we had even called it Box because it was Pat's idea to call it Box. And it was supposed to be us, me, Pat, Jess, four skaters, bi skaters. But like I said, Mitchell had kind of come into the scene and started skating. It's like, maybe it was because he was told he had to learn it to keep doing, you know, whatever, but he liked it. And so he kept doing it. And so, you know, I can't speak for him. And I've been way judgmental on him. I should knock it off. But at that time, I was just like, I didn't appreciate the duality of it. So it was over here to me. So Neil Feynman, the guy that had a magazine that, you know, used to always give me a voice or whatever, Jess and I stayed longer in Australia and stayed with Tom Fry, where we would watch Yellow T-Shirt every day to inspire us, and then we would go skate the vert ramps.
And you guys were and Jess was shooting? Was Jess shooting?
Huh?
Was Jess shooting photos when you guys were down there?
Oh. No, I mean, he probably was. Jess was always taking photos somewhere.
Okay.
So, but no, I mean, there was no magazine yet or anything. But we were skating the ramps every day with Tom, and in the morning we'd wake up and we would watch this video, and we just called him Yellow T-Shirt because we didn't know who this dude was, but he was our inspiration. He was the inspiration for me getting my airs lofty finally. It was like the first time I actually felt loft, you know, like that anti-gravity.
Wow, shout out Yellow T-Shirt.
But sorry, my hand, I'm trying to raise the volume. It got really low all of a sudden. That's why I keep going, what? So we would watch Yellow T-Shirt. Turns out it was Renee Holgreen. So we would watch Yellow T-Shirt and nice. He would inspire us and we would go skate. And we were like, we had this thing in the works. I was going to come home, you know, and we're going to start this magazine. And we were so inspired and motivated. But I think it may have been while I was still in Australia or when I got home. We didn't have cell phones. Had to have been when I got home. I don't think he like knew how to reach me internationally at Tom Fry's house. So it must have been when I got home. Neil Feynman contacted me and asked me if I wanted to be a part of their magazine. And I was like, huh? Like, what magazine? And I just played dumb. And he was like, me and Chris Mitchell and Pat Parnell. And I'd like for you to be involved. And I'm like, that's, you know, I didn't say a word to him. I was just like, I don't know if I said, I don't know what I said to him, but I didn't say anything because I was just dumbfounded. And I called Pat and I was like, Pat, what is going on? Like, you're working with these guys? Like, Neil's already doing a magazine. That is the reason I'm doing this magazine, because we want to have one for our industry and by our industry that isn't slathered all over the place with like racing and hockey and dancing and people stretching and wearing Lycra on their way to work. We're trying to buy skaters for skaters. Like, so yeah. What are you doing? And Chris Mitchell, he literally just started skating and you know, he's part of it's just, you know, Chris came from a whole different mentality, you know, like than I did. It was more of a hookers, and I think they were like filming a porn one time at his house. I mean, it was just like a completely different mentality, you know, very ritzy, bougie kind of mentality to me. So I was like, what are you doing? But Pat always had that side of himself, you know, and Pat wanted to succeed. Pat wanted to be an art director. Pat was an artist. And so there was a division that happened because I was like, well, Pat, you know, like you go ahead and do what you're going to do, but I'm still going to do what I'm going to do. I'm still going to do this, you know, like, so Jess was like the child in the divorce, you know, like, but initially he went to the meetings with Box and he stuck with that. And so I was just all by myself. I was like completely on my own. I remember Jess and I had a big argument about it because we were boyfriend, girlfriend at the time. And I was like, dude, I'm like your fucking girlfriend. We're our skate team, you know, like, why aren't you supporting me? You know, like, and he was just torn at that time, you know? So eventually, of course, he did start taking photos, but I was pretty on my own. So I went up to Venice Beach where my friends from when I used to live on top of the liquor store, a couple of part of that whole English group that I had met through Jess and stuff, had a place up in Venice Beach, and I don't know why I went up there. I think because I thought someone could help me learn to use the computer. And Mitchell, I think, actually even like let me use his student ID to buy my computer. So props to him for that, because he was nice. A UCLA student or something. So I got this computer, which was a top of the line computer at that time. It was a Quadra 800. That means it had 800 megabytes.
Oh man.
Ooh, flying.
Bomb, dude. I had a computer with 800 megabytes. What is that, like 4 phone pictures? You must know what 800 megabytes is. So, and that was the top of the line computer, man. That was the shit. So I get this computer, and maybe that's why, because I bought it at the UCLA store, and then I set up at my friend's house in Venice Beach in their living room, and then it was just day and night, you know, like, how the fuck do I do this? I have no fucking idea what I'm doing. And, but you know, like I said, I had done a little stint in college for a hot second, and, you know, I had gotten into computer programming. That's what I wanted to do. So I kind of understood a little bit of the idea of a programming language. That was it. So I started reading and trying, and it's like, you know, I'm going to make this magazine. How do I make the background of this transparent, you know, so that you can write over the top of a photo? And it was just all something I was working out how to do. I had no idea how to distribute a magazine, how to print a magazine, how to take the photos, how to like do the editorial, I had a fucking clue, but I just dove straight in, and it was like, I'm going to make this happen. And I guess the guys like Neil Feynman and those guys, Neil Feynman apologized to me years later, and I've repeated this numerous times. He called me and actually apologized. And I was like, for what? And he's like, we tried to put you out of business. He's like, our first meetings were all about how to put you on. And I was
before you even started?
Yeah.
Just because of the idea? Yeah,
just immediately. They wanted me gone. They wanted to make sure I never saw the light of day.
Wow.
And, that was painful, but it was like, damn, fail.
I was fine. You mentioned all that stuff because I was going to ask what you thought, because you've done a lot of shit in your life before Daily Bread. And I was going to ask, none of it had anything to do with like publishing, writing, anything like that. And I'm like, what made you think that you can pull this off in the first place? Like, what would make you be like, yeah, I'm qualified to handle this?
I think I've always had this mental issue where I believe with all my heart that I can do anything I want to do.
That's good.
If I just try hard enough, I can. It's my mom's fault, I guess. She never like put it in my head that there was any possibility of not being able to pull something off if I tried hard enough. Mm-hmm. So it's always been a matter of like, if you know, that's one of the reasons I hated school, never wanted to go to college. It's like, if I want to learn astrophysics, there's a fucking library. I'm not going to sit here while this guy drones on and on and on. Yeah. I'm just going to learn that shit, you know, like read every book and absorb everything I can. It just all felt too slow. Mm-hmm. So, you know, there's resources out there nowadays with the internet. I think I've lost my mind because there's so much information that like
so much too much
day wanting to learn one thing, and by the end of the day, like, you guys don't even want to see what's happening with this house. I'm rewiring the entire fucking house right now. So, you know, yeah, sure, I was on an electrician's apprentice for a month. Okay. Over the years, I like had to do electrical stuff and would build stuff, but not to the extent of like pulling every wire out of every wall and rewiring an entire house. So
that's good. That's good to know when you're doing your house. Angie, I don't mean to take control right now, but I'm very interested in learning how Daily Bread 1 came to be. I'm sorry.
Well, that was it.
We just got sidetracked.
That's actually the preface of it. You know, I want to wire the house. I'm going to fucking wire the house. I wanted to make that magazine, and I was going to do it. So I'm there, and I had stayed a little bit active in the acid house scene here. Okay. So I had this friend named Free, and he had his brother. They were all part of the house scene and did some really famous ones like Narnia and stuff in LA. And their family sold pearls I think, but at night it was like this nighttime hacker. It's like what you would see on a hacker movie now, you know, like all these people smoking and like making flyers for the acid house scene and doing all this art and drugs and whatever was going on there. But I'm in Venice. I get to a certain point where I'm like, okay, I've gone as far as I can go. I think I know how to put these pages together and stuff, but all right, content, you know. And so Brooke and Arlo came around, and the hen house was right down the street with all these girls where they would hang. There was this girl, I think her name was Jess. I just remembered in there. She was a photographer. So she was taking photos. We were developing them in the bathroom. And I don't know how we were developing them in the bathroom. I mean, why not? Oh, because it had to be dark. But it got to a certain point where it was like, okay, what's the next step? I think I've almost, you know, I'm getting something figured out. I'm starting to make pages. What now? And, you know, I can only make like 2 pages at a time because 800 megabytes. So I'd make the 2 pages and then I had to put them on a disc and then make the next page and put it on a disc. And then I could never see the whole thing together. Like, you know, like it was hard. There was one undo on Photoshop. You had one Command Z on Photoshop and that was it. There was no layers. There was nothing. So I'm getting to that point, and my friend Free says, look, you know, we have a film machine. And I'm like, okay, cool. You'll let me make film there. I'm like, all right, so next step. So then at that point, like I'm at, I can't remember the name of what the shop was called, but Artie Parent and Free, whatever, they gave me a little desk there. And I'm working around the clock because South by Southwest had just started. It was like maybe year 2 or something. And Artie had gone to South by Southwest, and he was a monster of a guy, so intimidating, really scary. And his little brother, little hippie guy, Free, that was my friend, he was like, okay, you do this, but you only have 5 days. Artie's going to be back. We got to get you out of here before he gets back. So like Arlo's driving down photos and we're scanning stuff. I had bought a scanner, a slide scanner. I had bought all the equipment I needed. So I'm scanning stuff and I'm typing and I'm writing and figuring stuff out. And then we go to run the film and we had no fucking idea how to do it. So it was like the dot resolution and stuff, just clueless on it. You'll notice in that spread of Arlo that one page is smooth. Do you have it right in front of you?
Yeah, I do. Which one?
Open up the spread of Arlo, and you'll notice that one page is smooth and proper resolution, and the other one has got dots all over it because it's a low resolution.
Oh yeah, wow! I never realized that. This is the pictures he's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, half of it is like clear, and the other half is pixelated. I never noticed that.
Right. The whole magazine's like that because we had no fucking idea what we're doing. So we're running films trying to do this. Artie comes home early, right in the middle of making these films. And oh my God, I thought he was going to kill me, kill Free, whatever. We had run so much film trying to figure out how to do this. And so I thought that was it. That was the end. We were toast. But he comes in, just rails us both. And then he's like, all right. And he starts doing it for us. That's why some of the pages are done properly. Because he came home and like actually ran the film for me. So then I had gotten some quotes from a printer, and so then I took it straight from there to the printer. And now, at this point, everybody was like, Angie, Dare to Air Tour, you know, we got to go. I wanted to have t-shirts. I wanted to have the magazine. So at the same time, Paul had done that cover art for me. My friends that I stayed with in Venice, they were t-shirt makers. They made the Daily Bread t-shirts for me. And I got it to the printer and got it out in time, like literally like grabbing all this shit on the way to the airport to go to Japan. And of course, in Japan, we met the skaters that were there, you know, just like Australia. It's like everywhere we went, there was a little organic thing that had happened, just like what we were doing. They were doing cones, but we got there, we were like, no more cones. And we took them out street skating because, you know, it was just coming about, like literally. Call out to Scott Crawford, that magazine of Blake doing that. I've got that magazine sitting right on my desk. That is 1993, my friend, early. So it was like early 93 this all happened within a span of months, you know, like Arlo and then Chris. I think Jess again was the one lighting the little spark, like we can grind on this shit, you know, and then like and then people started trying it. And you'll also notice in that issue is the first, it's called a Smith grind. And then grind.
Yeah,
so
Arlo.
that transition was happening really fast. And so it was like, I'm gonna pinpoint it to say the first 3 months in 1993, street skating was born. By August of 93, the magazine was out. We meet up with Tom Fry at the airport on our way to Japan, and we had to like have a layover or something. We were like locked in an airport. There was no one there but us, so we were just fucking around. And there's a picture in that issue of in issue 2 of Tom grinding. I think it looks like an air conditioner unit. I don't know what it is, but something in the airport, and he's grinding it. So by the time we got to Japan, the seed had been planted in Tom, and he went apeshit. And we were setting up rails. I think it's the only time I actually ever got to really slide a rail properly, because it's just before Daily Bread really took off. And so my days of learning to skate street along with everybody else, just that shit was not going to happen because I was tied to a desk. But
wait, you saying that was like kind of the birth of street skating when Tom did that grind to the air conditioner at the airport, and then you're like, holy shit, we could do this on other things?
No, the birth of it was happening in Orange County. Because we were all skating together and stuff. So it was like, you know, once Jess kind of mentioned the idea of it, it took root in everyone's minds. And I don't know, it was like, it just kind of all happened all at once. But I would say right there in that, it happened all in like a 3 to 4 month period. Boom, the birth of street skating. And then it was just like, I remember we were at, I don't know if it was ASR or something, and somebody's got photos. I think it's probably Jess has probably got photos, but it was just all happening like dynamite, you know, just pop, 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 pop. And it wasn't just us. Like we took it to Japan with us, and we showed the Japanese skaters what we were just starting to do. And the Makio was born that day because that's who we met in Japan, was Makio and Tetsuji and all the guys there. And Makio, you know, it was like threw down the cones, no more cones. We were all laughing, and he got up there and did a Makio, and then that's the birth of the Makio, you know, and everything was being created right then on the spot. The soul grind, the fish brain, you know, Arlo does a soul, Edwards does a front side, Makio does a Makio, Tom Fry does a fish brain. It's like boom, 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 and those are the foundations for everything that came in street skating. Everything bloomed off of that, you know. And so you've got Japan, Australia, America, right in that little thing. But by the time we were going to Japan, you know, Brooke and Scott Bentley, a lot of the guys had already descended on California. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying, is like everything happened in such a fast time right then. And it was like, it was just boiling, and then the pot just boiled over, you know, just from, and you have to credit, in many ways, you have to credit Morgan and Sean. Had they not put that video together, had they not put that tour together, I wouldn't have gotten us fired. We wouldn't, you know what I mean? Like,
wow.
And then you kind of back up to, if I hadn't been an asshole and like got Rollerblade to open up to like sending us to some places, and so, you know, it's like the pot just was boiling over and it just happened. But the thing that I realized early on is that, yeah, I made a magazine here, which started to give us a platform, but I didn't ever want to take that for granted, as if I really hated the idea that like Hollywood, you know, oh, California, it's like everything here. I always hated that. So I was like, you know, that scene started in Australia that inspired me. This scene was happening here. Everywhere I would go, I would learn the roots of how it happened. And there would always be the core skater, you know, like that started it, and everybody credits that guy as the one that got them skating. You know, there's this one elder in every village. And I wanted to make sure that was always like a really big thing with me. And another reason that I had a falling out with ASA was because it was like, no, you know, if you pinnacle it here and make us somehow superior to everything, you're like just really knocking down a whole lot of history and a lot of like diversity and culture. So I always wanted to just travel. That's what I did with David. I just wanted to travel around the world and document the scenes and their elders, pay respect to who started the history in their little town and who was doing what and how they were doing it. And just, you know, that was the only goal, was just connect us and make this giant family. And the thing that Gab Drum was talking about when he said that we were like calling out, you know, it was kind of like a Pied Piper thing, calling out, but that wasn't what it was. What he doesn't realize is that, again, there was a war, there was a battle going on for marketing and for us to pull ourselves away. So when I started doing the magazine, I reached out to all the industries that were making products, Hyper, Kryptonics, Rollerblade, and I said, what are you going to do for us? You know, I posed the question to them in a fax. What are you going to do for this industry? You know, what products are you going to design for us? You know, what plans do you have? Are you going to put any teams together? Yada, yada. Not one of those motherfuckers answered back to me, except for Cosmo, of course, because Tim's one of us. And so I didn't get a single response. Not one of them took me serious. So I had nothing to print. It was called Voice of the Industry. And so instead, since I got no responses back, I put a questionnaire together for all the skaters and said, talk to the industry, tell them what do you want from the industry. And so that first issue has that, you know, skated if you can even read it, my horrible.
I was gonna say, because I remember seeing that in the magazine too. It says, it quoted from the magazine, we asked some skaters what they had to say to the industry of inline skating, and this is what we heard. We also tried to get quotes from every skate company about their plans for the future and where they will be directing their marketing. But for one reason or another, that just didn't work out. Maybe next time.
Yeah, they did not answer. So I was like, all right, okay. And you know, especially Rollerblade wanted nothing to do with me. So I was the Antichrist. So when that first issue came out and they saw that this was going to happen and this was serious or whatever, oh, you better believe issue number 2, everybody is like, kiss the ring. Oh, well, we're going to make products. We're going to put a team together. We're going to do this. Because suddenly they realized that there was like an actual platform that was going to connect people. And if they weren't on board, they were going to be, you know, they realized that, yes, I was now in marketing. And I was going to market for us, by us, to us. And that was it. You were either on board or piss off.
Yeah, it's so awesome here in the beginning of all of these things, from the tricks to how this thing's getting started and people wanted to jump on. I just wanted to say that, like, we're talking about how beginning of time this is for skating. In the issue itself, it says, like, the inside scoop, Rollerblade is finally coming out with a street skate. Rosie supposedly has one out now, and Auction is coming out with one as well. Any others? Like, that's how early this is. And it even says, keep your eyes and ears open for Groove Productions Dare to Air video. It's the first real video about aggressive skating. Like, that's like foreshadowing, you know, with the first Blade video. It's fucking amazing to see that. And you also have in here, Daily Bread's sister mag Box will be coming soon to a store near you. What was the relationship then between Box and Daily Bread?
I was on the hippie love side, you know, but apparently at the same time they were trying to put me out. So
yeah. Who was this in the picture you chose too for Box?
Yeah.
Who is that?
Oh, that's Pat Parnell and Chris Mitchell.
Man, call them out and everything. I see you are trying to play the hippie, you know, like you're trying to be neutral, because you also shout out Rollerblade in here too. And you got fired from Rollerblade.
I wanted everyone to recognize that, like, there was no hate, there was no nothing. It was just very strict, serious. Let us be free. Let us be ourselves, or else, you know, like, we're not going to be pushed around. We're going to be who we're going to be, and this is what's going to happen. And we want you on board. We'd love for you to be on board. You know, we want everybody to whatever. Just don't be fake. don't be an asshole. Don't be greedy. Don't be egotistical. Don't be in it for fame. Don't, you know, like if you're looking to get famous and just make a bunch of money and you're only doing this because those are your objectives, move on. It's like I actually was watching some of your things, and Derek Henderson, took him a while. He says it. He figured it out. You know, he figured out what rollerblading meant to him, what he was when he finally stopped trying, you know, because he wasn't there in that beginning when we had nothing. So a lot of people came in wanting something, you know, like all we wanted was an industry. But a lot of people came later that had other ulterior motives. They either wanted to be famous, or they wanted to make a bunch of money, or they wanted to, like, they wanted something. And to me, it was just always that crystal clear cut. If you're in it for skating and because you love skating, you're my friend, your family. If you're in it because skating is going to do something for you, I can't relate. You know, like I got nothing for you. I'm not looking to get anything. You know, people would always like say, "Oh, Angie, you know, she owns the magazine." I'm like, yeah, you know, like that's a giant rock in my pocket. I put every dime back into it. I don't have a car. I don't have insurance. I don't own a home. You know, my one fancy thing is I love to go out to dinners. But other than that, like I literally, it was like, you know, I work like 16, 17 hours a day. I don't get to skate anymore. You guys are watching the videos. You're out skating, you know, like it got to a point where I thought like, Jesus, you know, like it's at a certain point, it was like, is my only job now to get guys laid? You know, because it got so much like that. And I'm like, where's, you know, like I missed the family. Like I was so busy creating a family that I alienated myself from it, because suddenly I was the man. I was the head of the magazine. I was somebody to take something from or get something from. And it became very, you know, like obviously, you know, like to me, it never stopped being family. Like everyone that came to work for me, everything that my motivation never changed. It always just stayed about the individual goal that I wanted to achieve. And so it was just really all of a sudden weird to have a lot of people in the industry not recognize me for the skater that I was, you know?
Yeah.
I was redhead honcho, you know, like that had been long forgotten. And that hurt a lot because, you know, suddenly I was an outsider to the very thing that I wanted to create for other people to have an inside. And that inside was shunning me. It's kind of like when you have a kid and you wipe their diaper and wipe their butt and blow their nose. They vomit all over you and stuff. And then, you know, you sacrifice and stuff. And then they turn 16. They tell you to fuck off. They hate your guts and steal your car keys. That's kind of how it felt at a certain, you know, by the end. But I always held out hope, you know, because I always did it for the skaters. So I let the other stuff roll off my back, you know, corporate stuff, people that were clearly in it for the money and clearly in it just all they thought about was Benjamins and whatever, you know, like I let a lot of that stuff roll off my back. But you know, I always told myself, and I still do this day, that like I was always doing it for my family, the skaters, you know, people who felt like I did when they skated, people who wanted to skate for that reason, people who did it because they needed to do it, you know, it was part of them. It's like an artist being told that they can't paint. It's like it's a part of you. It's something you have to express. And a lot of people I know, you guys probably too, it's like the minute you put those skates on your feet, that became a part of you, not just something you do. And even if you know, I get mad at people who like judge skaters when they stop or something. You don't know what's going on with them. It's still in their heart. It's still a part of who they are. It's still a part of their life. You know, like I started like, I alienated myself or self-exiled, I guess you would say, after the incident with Daily Bread for like 5 years. I didn't speak to anybody, and damn near not one soul reached out to me either. So, you know.
Incident like when you guys closed the doors.
Huh?
When you guys closed doors at Daily Bread, when you guys stopped, that's what you mean, right? The incident?
Well, when the magazine was stolen, like it's not like I had a choice. I would have never given up. So Daily Bread issue whatever would be coming out right now. It'd be a different format, clearly, but
do you want to grow? I don't really know that story. Do you want to grow on that?
Oh my gosh, I can't. From as much as I finally started, when I finally started talking about it, which was 5 years after the fact, it was on the Mushroom podcast. Those guys somebody actually finally asked me. So like I was silent for 5 years, just like I just evaporated like a ghost. And after 5 years, I got a call from the guys at Mushroom, which I was happy because of all the people, like they were the guys that like really gave me hope in what was about to come with rollerblading. And so the idea that they paid for an ad and then that magazine was stolen and their money was stolen and it appeared to be stolen by me, that broke my fucking heart. So like the fact that it was them, not all of my old school homies, it was them and Ezekwe. But it was them that called and said, hey, what happened? And so 2011 was the first time I actually sat right here on this porch, or I moved into the bedroom, I think, and I told the story, of what happened and why Daily Bread was no more. And then I guess that kind of opened a floodgate, and I was like, fuck this. I'm just gonna. People deserve to know, I would never have done that to the readers. I would have never done that to the skaters.
Deserve to know what?
Daily Bread was stolen, dude. Like, the recession happened, and I want to say 2003. It kind of really started. The recession started happening. People weren't buying skates so much, and a lot of the companies were pulling back their ads. Internet was coming around, so people wanted to focus their advertising dollars on internet and so forth. And making a magazine is a shit ton of overhead. Like to print an issue, $48,000
each issue.
Like to print an issue of the magazine.
Whoa,
because
that's
I've
crazy.
grown the distribution large. I mean, the whole world was depending on the magazine. So it's like,
yeah,
we're talking, a perfect bound 100-page magazine that, to me, the magazine represented us. That was us, man. That was our identity. That was who we were. That was our voice. And so it needed to look good. I mean, the first issue I made, I went to ASR and had it thrown in my face by skateboarders, like fucking faggot, like to me, it was like, no, you look at that magazine.
Whoa.
Look at that. So everything, from the tours I tried to get us involved with, with the Universal Studios thing with Sublime, the Warp Tour, Lollapalooza. I got the first ramps up at Lollapalooza. Like, I always wanted to identify us with what I knew we were. I could give two fucks about the X Games or any of that kind of shit because, like, you guys are paying people right now. There you go. You want to get paid as a skater? Get paid by your industry to do stuff for your industry because your industry, it's like a village. Nobody needs to go from the village to the empire to make a living. You just make a living off each other organically from things you need. But anyway, so the magazine just represented to me who we were as an industry. It wasn't about me making a magazine. It wasn't about me having a business. It was
bigger than that. It wasn't
about skate.
It was
sponsorship because they got interviews. No, this was our brand. This was our marketing.
Yeah.
This was what made us a global industry. We just needed to grow. We were babies, like I didn't even have anybody to work for me that was actual a skater. I look around now, like at what you guys are doing and at the talent in the industry and the capability and what you're able to pull off now in terms of being adults and being taken seriously, not being serious, because I'm never going to fucking be serious, but being taken.
Mm-hmm.
And, so like the magazine was that. So when the recession started to happen, I at one point I had 21 people I was paying on payroll. And that's a lot of fucking money, a lot of government taxes, a lot of, I had vendors, I had debt. I put on the events, I put together the videos, and all out on the like big events at ASR because I knew how important it was to establish ourselves within that tribe. Action Sports Retailer in San Diego was like the thing, you know, it's like going to the Golden Globes or something. Like that's where you identify yourself. That's where you make your mark. So like, you know, I'd rent the Spreckles Theater and do, you know, like the Forest Fire premiere there. And like, I was just always putting everything back into something that people didn't realize what its purpose was, I guess, you know, in the long run, that I don't think they saw it. You know, I remember one thing that killed me was Scott Walker when we had a meeting at Razors, and I was telling them, I was like, you know, there's a recession, but it's really important that you guys keep advertising because it's really important that the magazine keep coming out. And I did not know how to, as the owner of Daily Bread, I did not know how to get it through to them that I wasn't asking them for advertising dollars because I wanted advertising money. I was asking them to keep advertising. I was asking them to keep making a magazine. I was just the conduit. I was just the person making it happen. I was asking them to keep making a magazine.
You were kind of like crowdfunding it in a way.
Yeah, keep funding this most important thing that's bringing joy.
This thing that keeps our industry alive. This thing that, you know, kept so many people active for
I didn't know how to say that, you know, so I remember Scott Walker saying, well, you know, if you go out of business, another magazine will pop up. Do you realize it's taken 14 years and a lot of cunning and clever shit to get distribution? I mean, do you know you have to pay a mafioso in New York to even get on the newsstands? I mean, I had us in grocery stores, newsstands, global, airport, everywhere, you know, like, and that shit took a lot of fucking
Barnes
work.
and Nobles. It was in Barnes and Nobles.
Yeah, you know,
that was
like
tight.
Those distribution contracts don't just materialize.
Yeah.
And being able to distribute, like learning how to like learning accounting for magazines. Fuck me, hardest accounting on earth. Because you're dealing with something where you've got like subscribers that pay for one issue at a time over a 2-year period. It's called amortization. You can't like claim that on your taxes until the money comes in for like 5,000 people. So you've got 5,000 sales that you have to keep track of intermittently as they're happening. You print 100,000 magazines, you ship out 70,000, 60,000 sell, but you invoice for all of them, but then you don't get paid for over a 365-day period. They come in, the accounting is insane. It's insanity.
Wow.
Figuring all that out, figuring out how to get a periodical permit for like being able to ship the magazine at a periodical rate. ISSN, there's so much to it, you know, and I was just like, oh yeah, really? You know, like I started in Venice not knowing how the fuck to turn a computer on and have been busting my ass 16, 17 hours a day for 13 years. And so, I mean, I think one is a perfect example of that sure, you can take what I built, but you can't keep it running. The engine just stalls on you because you don't know what the fuck you're doing. Maybe it's been 15 years now they've been doing it. Where the fuck is their distribution? So whatever, but
wait, who are we talking about? Are we talking about one?
Yeah, the recession. I'll try to get there faster. I had an office down on State Street, and the recession was happening. I had overhead, and what people don't realize is like when you have, you know, when you get to the end of your 30 days, you know, you've got your rent, your insurance, your car payment, whatever. That's your 30 days worth of bills, and you know you're going to get your check, and you know that check needs to cover that month's bills, right? Well, if the magazine comes out every 2 months at 100 pages, then I have 60 days worth of rent, payroll, everything to do. So we went from having an $80,000 advertising budget that would just barely cover that. It's not like we ever had anything in savings. It was like McDonald's, you know, yeah, we made 80,000 and print is going to be 48,000, payroll is going to be 38,000. You know, we were always just on the dollar barely getting by. But when the recession happened, suddenly we're not going to be able to make payroll because we have a magazine that comes out every other month at 100 pages. So, you know, I did all the math and figured it out. And I'm like, okay, the only way that we can keep going is the page count has to go back down. Sucks, you know, like I don't want to do that. page count has to go back down. We have to come out monthly. We have to come out monthly so that advertising meets all of our expenses for the month. Everything has to be like this. That magazine cannot support 2 months of payroll of, you know, just everybody was already like, we were always just so barely getting by, you know, like just, it was very that everyone get paid. So everyone always got paid for like 13 years. I never missed a payment. There were some contributing photographers were the first thing that got behind, and we worked really hard to like get them back up. And that was hard because we were paying the same rate as like Transworld. I think we were paying more, you know, making like 1/4 the money, but paying our photographers and stuff. You know, I wanted our industry to support our skaters.
Yeah.
I wanted to be self-fulfilling like that. So when I had to go monthly, it pissed a lot of people off that were working for me, and they didn't get it. You know, they were young, they didn't understand the cost expense thing, expensive, whatever. And
specifically, we're talking specifically Justin, right?
Not yet.
Okay.
Everyone was pissed off about that. Johnny was mostly pissed off about that.
Johnny D.
Johnny D. So, you know, I had to make it happen. And there were a couple of snowball things. I lost Jenny, who was like my right hand. You know, she's the one who put the calls in to everybody, like, because, you know, our industry, she would have to call them 15 times to get anybody to pay for an ad. We were probably owed in the neighborhood of $40,000. You know, we were basically supporting a lot of skater-owned companies. Like, you know, you got to pay for your ad, but then they wouldn't. But I'm not going to stop advertising them because our industry needs to have these skater-owned companies in it. So, you know, like,
you're giving free ads to all these companies.
Got away with a lot of shit for a long time. You know, like basically, Daily Bread really was supporting the fuck out of the industry. You know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just on like so many different levels, but yeah.
Yeah. So, things got just really fucking hard, and a couple of things when I lost Jenny. This lady, it was like, you know, Craigslist ad, you know, like, who am I going to get to work for me? I can't afford anybody. So this lady that answered an ad comes in, she's got like a purple thing and a like pinky nip. Turns out she was a complete fucking psycho. She would tell me about her daughter's kid and crack and how she like punctured the tires. I was scared of this woman at a certain point. And then I found months worth of mail just shoved into places in the office. So she was just pulling this scam the whole time. I guess she had like pulled some other scam to get workers unemployment. She was a con artist. Long story short, she was a fucking manipulative con artist. So she wasn't doing her job. And to protect herself, she started telling lies that I wasn't doing my job, which, you know, she would just start saying things like, "Oh, Angie just keeps changing this," or "Angie keeps changing." She would just, you know, that bad apple. She started planting
that little shit talking in the office that just like spreads kind of shit. Yeah.
I had no idea what she was doing. She even told Jenny, who I love, who is still one of my best friends on earth right now. She's basically my sister. She told Jenny that I think she said that I forged Jenny's signature. I basically, she tried to talk shit on me to Jenny, and Jenny, like, of course, called me, and she's like, and I was like, holy fuck. That's when I realized really the damage that she was doing. You know, I had no idea so I started looking more at the books because Jenny had outlined what she was supposed to do pretty well. You know, it was her job to call and get the advertising dollars in, to do the accounting, to pay the bills. Turns out she wasn't paying the bills. She had not called and gotten any of the advertising in. So like, here we are in a recession. Things are just barely to the wire. She doesn't get the advertising in for an entire issue, which puts us, you know, like puts me in a real hairy position with being able to like get everybody paid. And then everything just snowballed like that. Rusty was supposed to like make a contract with the subscription people to no longer bill us on a monthly basis, but instead on a per issue basis, or not on a whatever. Shit, just people, you know, that's why I said I will never work with a group of people. I'll never be a boss again. Never wanted to be a boss, but you take the fall for anything that anyone does wrong in your office. It's going to come back on you because you got to answer to it. You know, somebody forgets to pay a bill, that's coming back on you. Somebody fucks up a contract and suddenly you're going to have to pay twice as much as you were supposed to be paying. That's going to be on you too. So I started needing to make cuts. I needed to let go of Deb. I needed to take over the accounting again. I was fucking exhausted by this point. I mean, it was time. I kept saying next year, you know, and by this time I'm 13 years into 16-hour days and stuff, and I'm just fucking exhausted. So I realized I've lost Jenny. I'm going to have to actually work harder than I've ever worked since the beginning. You know, can I do this? Like I'm mentally and physically just beat down. I got real sick and realized that like nobody called me except to see if their paychecks were going to be on time. You know, I was just like, fuck, man, like this just, So, and Justin was, again, one of those bad seeds. Like, the guy was so fucking negative that I didn't want to hire him in the first place. But my picks for hiring people, you guys didn't exist. Brian Kranz didn't exist. People that write and know how to, none of these, there were no skaters yet ready to be involved in the industry. So my pickings were very slim. And I first started having Justin just write stuff from Ohio, but it was just so negative, and I would have to rewrite, and I would just be like, oh my God, like this guy is such a downer, you know, like how can anybody have such a negative, how can anybody piss me off so bad trying to say something? But eventually I just was like, you know, I'm exhausted. I need someone. So I brought him out, and it was mostly not to write, but to like do the administrative part of it. And then I needed help with, there was just, I can't even go into it. There was just like all kinds of shitty people, bottom line. And Justin, when I, you know, I let Johnny go at that time because Keith was going to take over pre-press, and Johnny had been like kind of elsewhere for a while now. You know, he wasn't taking photos as much anymore. Shooty was there, so it was really important. Shooty was, I just love Shooty. I always thought of him like a brother. And so I had to get out of that office. I had to get out of that contract, that advertising thing, just with the losing the month. And then Peel went on vacation for like 2 weeks. I'm like, you can't do that to me. And he's like, and the whole office was like, he needs to go on vacation. I'm like, you don't understand. Him going on vacation is literally the end of the fucking magazine. So, okay, go ahead. But like, you know, while you're on vacation, bills are piling up here that aren't going to get paid because when you get fat. So it was just like trying to put snakes in a barrel with everything. And, but I pulled up my fucking boots. I got out of my contract at the office that we were in. I found a house. I wasn't gonna be able to move into it yet, but I was basically taking Daily Bread back to where it started, you know, back in my house, you know, I'm gonna make it here where I'll come in. So there was like a 1 month interim where there was gonna be like literally nobody had to come to work because there was no office or anything. But I told those guys, you know, I'll keep you on payroll because, you know, that's how I was, stupid. So I'm like, you know, I'll keep you on payroll, even though nobody was, I found out they were actually all doing other jobs. Like I think Justin was doing Barely Dead. But I came back to this house actually that I live in now. I didn't live here now. I had just met my husband. So he let me set up a desk in the back in his room. I had papers everywhere. I exploded on his room, and I was going through everything and just like calling and wheeling and dealing and trying to make shit happen. And Justin was a big fucking problem because he had just kind of come in. He was very entitled about things, very pissed off on some instances. It kind of felt like he had my back, but he really didn't. It just, again, it became, I'm the man, I'm the boss, I'm the whatever, and you're not taking care of us. Like, look, I paid the bills for 13 fucking years. I've supported the industry. I mean, we're in a recession. This is a fucking hard time. I'm doing my best for you guys, you know, like, and I was, I mean, to me, like I said, they were family. I was doing my fucking best. And then finally I got shit to a certain point that basically kept us resuscitated and kept us breathing. And then I got everything moved in over the other house. I brought those guys in, and I was right away I was still working on the accounting stuff. By the time it was about 2 weeks into being over there, a little more, the issue had been getting put together. So like, and Wes had come on. So I had Wes, Shooty, and Justin. That was it. And me, nobody else. Those were the guys I decided to keep. And it's like together, because that's what we needed. That was the bare minimum of what we needed. And I would.
It's a big cut from 21 people.
Yeah. So I would do everything. I would do the pre-press. I would do Wes was going to kind of do whatever. I was doing all of the administrative shit and so forth, but it's like, you can't have a magazine without your advertisers. I put Justin in charge of advertisers. I had literally taken him around to meet everybody, vouched for him, said, I know, a lot of these people just did not want to deal with Justin. They just did not like him. I talked him up. I was like, look, he's going to do a great job, please, basically I put him up there, I'm like, trust him, he's going to do great. And so I had put Justin in charge of advertising, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting and I had a house that was only blocks away from here, and I finally finished the accounting. And one of them, I don't know if it was Wes, or it's funny because Justin didn't want me to hire Wes. He didn't trust him. You can see your own, you can spot your own. I didn't, but so anyway, I remember it so clearly because I had just finished the accounting. Somebody had mentioned them going on part-time, we should just go on part-time. And I'm like, to me, you got to understand, like, I built this up, I built up a family. That was like a fucking death knell to me. I felt like I was letting them down, like I would do anything. I didn't want my family. I didn't want my tribe that I built, from the ground up on the floor in Venice. I didn't want to let them down, like I wanted to keep being able to provide, but I just fucking couldn't, so I'm doing the accounting, I'm doing the numbers, and I'm like, I said it. I was like, I can't go on like this. Like, I cannot keep going on like this. And I broke down in tears. And I think that was the first time that they actually really saw me crack, and the response from Justin is he got up angry and walked out the door.
Whoa.
So they got up and they just fucking stormed out like, fuck you, you can't, like, fuck you. And I was just crushed. And so I just sat there and I was like, okay, all right, how can I make this work? Because my statement was one of like, fuck, I can't do this anymore. In no way, shape, or form did I say, I'm ending the magazine right now. What I said was, I'm fucking exhausted and I can't, this is just killing me. I can't fucking do it. Have you ever done that at work? You're doing a project or something and you're like, I can't take it anymore. I can't fucking do this.
Yeah.
Well, that was my breaking moment. And yeah, it was heart-wrenching, their response, but I understood it, I understood it. I was a paycheck behind with them. I was trying to figure out anything I could do. My mom, who's poor as shit, had left me like $1,000. That was her like inheritance to me or something. I cashed it and gave it to them. I did everything I could to fucking keep people paid. The paycheck that was late to them was for the month that they weren't even expected to come into an office. So it was like, I was feeling this like entitled brattiness in a way. So part of me was heart-wrenched and angry, but part of me was angry and like, fuck, man, like, give me a fucking break. I'm, this is whatever. So anyway, the letters that I would write, I read the letters that I wrote and it's like, God, like, I'm like groveling, I'm begging, I'm like pleading to please not be mad at me. I'm trying really hard. And I just look back at it and I'm like, fuck, like it's difficult. But anyway, I sat there and I thought, okay, fuck this, like I got to figure this out, like these guys are all pissed off and I feel like I'm letting them down and I just can't, because the pain of it was really difficult. So I just sat down and I was like, all right, pedal to the metal. And I figured everything out and I was like, okay, you know what? One of them had mentioned going part-time. If I suck it up and just accept the fact that I can't pay everyone full-time, I can figure this out. So I put together this sheet that laid it all out and the numbers worked and I did a trajectory and a projection and I was like, okay, like about 8 months is all it would take for me to like get out from under this bullshit with Deb, get back up to a position where income is matching expenses, and I can start bringing them back full time. We can do this. We can get out of it. So I called them all. I was excited. I called those guys and I was like, you know, come around to the house. I have this figured out. I'm going to make this work. And they came around. I gave them the sheet. I still have a copy of it, you know, of how we can make it work and what it would happen and everything. And Justin literally like threw it in my face, and they were just angry, and they were like, no, fuck you. And the word was, do you have a paycheck for us right now? And if you don't, fuck off. So I was just like, wow, okay, fuck. So again, I was like really fucking depressed, and I was like hurt. I felt like I let them down and stuff. And then eventually I started realizing in like I'm my own worst critic, and I get really down on myself. I'm one of those people that like should have a t-shirt that says, you know, hold on a minute while I overthink this. I just really mind fuck myself to death. So I was doing that, and I was just like feeling like such a fucking failure, and like I was letting everybody down, and I was like, how can I make this right? And then I started thinking, wait a minute, if I don't have any, you know, because by this time people are starting to come around, the internet's kind of coming around, you know, I'd been trying to have a website built for years, but clearly, you know, I was trying to get them to build DVM-TV. I was trying to build YouTube before. I didn't know what I was asking, but the internet was coming around, you know, there were skaters writing, a lot of good photographers were coming about, and things were out there. Suddenly there were like resources, you know, that didn't exist before. And I started thinking about it, and I was like, fuck, if I didn't have payroll, which is the largest expense I have, I could actually pay contributing photographers a decent amount of money again. I could pay contributing writers, and they exist now. I wouldn't have overhead. I wouldn't have all the overhead that I've had before, because I've already kind of cut that back, and I'm working from home again. But I could put out a 100-page magazine again, quarterly. And I got super fucking excited, because I was like, I can do the magazine that I want to do again, a fat ass like coffee table, quarterly, kick ass, have the website going. I can have contributors. You know, I had this, everything just started to materialize. And I was like,
yeah,
this will be right for the industry. This will be great. You know, our legacy can continue on like this and grow and develop and eventually pass it off to all the like inline people, you know, and the magazine slowly fades and just becomes, you know, like annual yearbook kind of thing. And all of the young skaters that are coming up and that are contributing start developing things on their own. I'm out, you know, and everything goes the way it's supposed to go. But instead, when I started getting that idea, I thought, okay, I'm going to go ahead and send the magazine to print. That's like a $30,000, $32,000 in advertising. Without these guys here, I can pay off this bill, this bill, this bill, this bill. Go ahead and get this. I just got really excited about suddenly when I removed me feeling like a failure and like I was letting those guys down, I started realizing that, okay, no, this is going to be good for the industry, and this is where I need to go. Yes, I'm alone again, but that's all right. You know, like, this is going to be good. And I got really excited, and I went to look for the files to send the magazine to the printer, and I couldn't find them. I was like, where the fuck are the magazine files? So I called Shooty, and he didn't answer. I know now in hindsight why he didn't answer. But then I got a call, and I actually have the recording, and Wes and Justin, they stole the magazine. They took all the files. They took everything. While I was busy crying and of being upset that I was letting them down, they were busy perfecting a coup and taking the magazine. They called all the advertisers, because remember, I'd put Justin in charge of being in communication with the advertisers. Apparently they had called all the advertisers and told them that I decided to shut the magazine down, and they, in their good hearts, were taking over the mantle and starting something new to keep the industry alive. And They literally took all of the content, all of the advertisers, everything, and they had already sent it to the printer because remember Wes did rejects when I wasn't able to hire him before he got pissed off and started rejects. So, I always used to say there's only room in this industry for one magazine because, people kept trying to start magazines so that they could be magazine people. And it's like, you don't understand. There's only room for one fucking magazine. Our industry can only afford one. And this is a tool to create an industry and to keep an industry alive. Like this isn't about you getting to own a magazine. This is we got a goal here, so no, there's only room for one. So to this day, I'm sure that's why they called it one. But yeah, they just fucking straight up walked off with everything. And nobody even called me to like say, hey Angie, what is it? Are you really ending the magazine? Are you really quitting? Are you really like stopping it? Are you really shutting the doors? Are you really like shutting down? Nobody. Not a single soul. So
You just walked away after that?
I just walked away. I was like, wow. Well, I mean, I tried to fight them, but I wasn't going to fight. It was like everything that I was making the magazine for disappeared. It just vanished in that moment because that family, that wasn't my family. The skaters out there were my family and they had nothing to do with this. They didn't even know what was happening. All they knew was I was letting them down. They thought I was letting them down and I was giving up on them. I mean, you read through Daily Bread and you'll see how many times I've like said that I would never go away. I've even said that. It might have been there in one of those first issues where I said, even if I have to go back to making it in my bedroom, I'll never abandon you. So that fucking hurt. The rest of it, whatever. Sure, industry goes on. It really didn't, but yeah, so like that's what I'm saying. It was so important. Well, no, I tried to fight them, but like you got to remember, I have no money. I can't send the magazine. I've already stretched it because I was like getting into a new place. So like I've already cashed out, the $1,000 my mommy left me and given it to them. So I have nothing to pay a lawyer or anything. But I talked to this lawyer. He said that he would, I said, it does me no good to try to do anything about this if I can't go all the way, like if I can't, because he explained to me the steps, that you file a, what's that called when you don't allow an unlawful detainer? Is that the right thing? I think it's
sounds right.
I'm not a lawyer. I can't talk about that.
Remembering my legal terms, but I think it's called an unlawful detainer, which makes it so that they have to stop what they're doing until it can be discussed in a court. And then the judge rules on whether the unlawful detainer is right, and then he forces them to return what belongs to you. So that's just called an unlawful detainer. It's like a quick thing. From there, it moves into you have to file damages for what they've done. And the damages is where they actually have to like, they're found guilty of, well, not found guilty, basically like, like when somebody sues you, the judge says, yeah, you got to pay them, so like filing the damages thing so that the industry understood what happened was the important part. Those guys pay for what they did. So the way it went down is this lawyer, which, I mean, there's how many jokes have been made about lawyers because this is how lawyers are. The lawyer filed the unlawful detainer. We got the unlawful detainer. We were awarded the unlawful detainer. They had to stop. And then the court date was set. And then we went to court. And at the court, the judge said, okay, I'm ruling in her favor. You have to return her belongings. But judges and lawyers don't know shit about magazines. So those guys returned all my shit except the cover of the magazine. So they returned everything but the cover. Now, I can't go shoot Jeff Stockwell again because how the fuck am I going to do that in the middle of all this?
Yeah.
You think about the clusterfuck that's happening here. They kept my cover shot for the story, knowing, of course, I mean, that was shady as fuck. It's like the judge is telling you to return all my shit. You return it all, but you're already at the printer and you've already printed Daily Bread in your name and you've returned everything except my cover photo. So I can't go to print and explain to the advertisers that I'm going to print too. You need to pay the contract that you actually signed for advertising, which was with Daily Bread. This other thing is a sham. I can't do that because I can't go to print because I don't have the cover shot. So when I tell my lawyer this, you know, my lawyer is like, okay, cool, you know, we're leaving. I'm like, you don't understand. I'm like, he's like, you just go get another photo. Yeah, sure. I'll just run out down to Orange County tomorrow with my my Canon camera and hook up with Stockwell. And we'll go shoot this fucking cover.
Yeah. Oh my God. I cannot. First of all, I've never heard that story. I mean,
wow.
I knew there was some kind of thing that you guys didn't get along. It was a bad falling out, whatever the case. I never knew the extent of that story. So that's crazy.
This day, they think they won in court, which is just, the stupidity is amazing to me. It's like, okay, you were owed a paycheck. You stole my business. That would be like you work at an auto dealership. Here comes one of my bad examples. When you are hired by a magazine to take photos, to write stories or whatever, everything you write, you've been hired. It's you've been hired to do that. So you can't say, oh, it's my photos or it's my writing. No, you were paid to do that job. So it's ridiculous. It's like if you have a car lot and one of the car salesmen didn't get his check. So he comes in at night and he steals the inventory and then says, well, it's that ridiculous. You can't just fucking take someone's business because when someone doesn't pay you, like if they were upset, even though had that issue gone to print, they would have been paid. Just like I told him, I was like, you know, I'm sorry, 14 years of paying everybody on time, never missed a beat, never a late check. I think you can give me this one, you know, like as soon as the magazine goes to print, you're paid, you know? But of course the magazine can't go to print now because you've stolen the magazine. So the thing you're supposed to do when you haven't gotten a paycheck is you're supposed to file with the government, you know, EDD or whatever. And you're supposed to say, hey, this person didn't pay. And then they come after me to pay you. You don't get to play vigilante and steal my business and rationalize it and justify it as okay for a fucking paycheck, especially when you just stole $30,000 worth of advertising for like $113 you were owed. So, and you know what these guys had the nerve to do? And this is what fucking kills me. Okay, my lawyer, after we won the unlawful detainer, and I called my lawyer and I'm like, okay, so what do we do now to go forward with the damages? Oh, well, I have this bill. The guy was charging me $8,000 to go forward with a damages case against them. I don't have fucking $8,000. So I had to drop it. I dropped the case. They would be in jail on a felony theft charge had I gone forward with the case because they hands down stole my business and my files and my belongings, copyright belongings from my office. They stole them. And that is straight up felony theft for that amount of money. So, and some planet, they actually believe that because I dropped the case, that they won and that they were, I don't know. It's so bizarre and crazy that it's hard for me to wrap my head around. But guess what these guys did afterwards? And I'm just going to say Dumb and Dumber at this point, or just greedy as fuck. I'm not sure. They actually then went and filed with the EDD for their paychecks. Not sure if you can get your head around that.
So you had to pay that?
Fuck no, I didn't pay it.
Yeah.
I was incorporated, so they will. There was no way. But I am still on the line. Like I can't. I still have a growing $30,000 debt for payroll taxes, because when all of that was going down in the recession and stuff, and then Deb wasn't paying them, they came to the office. That's actually when Deb lied to Jenny and said that I told them, Jenny. I mean, it's such insanity that it's insanity. So
Angie, I got to interject for a second.
Yeah.
This podcast has been.
Am I like in the dark?
This. No, yeah. I think you could use a candle or a light or something. But I think first of all, we've been through an insane amount of history in this podcast. This has been we've been
super insane, super educational.
We're going on almost 3 hours. So I think we're gonna try to. We need to get you on again. Would you be willing to come on again?
Of course.
I love that.
That would be awesome.
But I think for tonight we're gonna have to wrap this up pretty soon.
Oh, that sounds good to me.
Angie,
You just like you were ready for bed.
But you know what? I'm glad that we started everything out talking about skating and like that history of it and stuff, because a lot of times, and I'm also glad that you guys did get to find out, because I thought everybody knew at this point.
No, I had no idea. Angie, this is insane to me. Like, I'm like,
it was.
It's crazy.
Insane.
I never knew the details. I knew like the gist of it, but I never knew how deep it went and all the stuff afterwards that happened.
Oh, there was a falling out. They had a disagreement. No.
That's kind of what I knew about it.
It's like John and Shima had a falling out. They were partners. This was Daily Bread and a dude I had just hired a couple years before. I mean, like they just flat out stole the magazine out from the whole industry. So anyway, now I'm glad we get to talk about that, because I feel like, I don't want to always be to talk about that. I think this will be it. If anybody from now on, if anybody asks me, I'm going to say, look at this, this, and this, and you'll get that, because I do, I want to talk more about the history and the good parts and stuff, because I found my love again, putting on my skates and just fucking rolling around like I did in the parking lot with Doug. And I was like, hell yeah, it took 5 years of me being away, but my husband skates.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's good that you're coming back and you're doing your thing. You're doing it. You're starting back where you began in the first place.
I can't, because I got these apparently some weird thing where I can barely even walk sometimes because it hurts. So I mean, my skating is very, very limited, but I have this strong desire to take my husband to a mini ramp. So that is gonna happen. You
gotta film that and put that on social media when that happens. Yeah. That'll be a new TikTok trend. But we definitely got to have you on a second time. This is 100%
part one. This is the Angie Walton podcast part one. Okay. But I want to say this. I just want to thank you for your contribution, because I think a lot of people now take the internet and the content that's free for granted. But during the time when I was growing up skating, as Austin and I were talking before you came on, it was just like Daily Bread was our thing. It was our Bible. Mm-hmm. It was the thing we aspired to be. And I remember getting my first photo in Daily Bread and how big that was for me. And just, just seeing it come up from everything and the history that it created so much of the people that are my friends to this day, because it brought us all together. It was that community that you brought together. So I just wanted to say thank you and how much that means. And I'm sorry, I think I'm Austin.
Other questions?
Should we do a couple of questions? Angie,
I thought we asked for questions earlier and no one had anything to say.
Angie, would you be willing to do some questions? Is it too much to ask? Okay,
but
cool.
I want to say to you really quick, I'm just as grateful to every skater out there. Like, I am just as grateful, we were all just cogs in a wheel. This was just, like I said, this was my family. I was just a skater too. So that, and I was surprised to get an email from you, because I thought you were going to be in Italy with a girl.
Me?
Yeah.
Italy with a girl? Oh yeah, back in the day. Wow, you remember that. Oh my God. Yeah, when I was young, I wanted to do those things.
I was wondering what that was about. I'm like, Italy.
South of France by now too. I was gonna be like,
yeah.
Somebody else will take over, and no.
I love that you remember that.
Billy settled down.
Yeah, I'm settled.
Okay.
Let's get to Angie. First of all, this has been amazing. We have to have you on again very soon. We got to get to a couple of these questions.
You guys too, and I haven't even gotten to them.
We'll say that for part two.
Yeah.
We'll flip it on us. The questions are coming in though.
Shoot, Austin.
Yeah. Well, um, you kind of spoke about this, maybe kind of in a little bit. Josh Butler wants to know, will Daily Bread go online? I don't know if he means like past issues to be uploaded or.
Yeah. Oh my God, talk about a failure. I have been determined to get all the legacy issues. When I moved into this house here with my husband, like I had all these magazines and stuff, and I had found that other house specifically because it had an attic, and I had everything stuffed in the attic. And when I moved in here with him, I had nowhere to put it all. So I have pictures where I've got like boxes lining the street here, and I'm like, I had to send. Oh God, that still kills me to this day. I had to send it to the recycler.
What?
All these old Daily Bread, but I kept as many as I could fit in a storage unit of each issue.
Do you have at least one of each issue?
Huh?
Do you have at least one of each issue?
Except for the ones that sold out, and some of them did sell out. But like, I have the inventory written down. I finally got I've moved them from storage unit to storage unit. I've had nightmares where like the storage units leaked and some pages got stuck together on some magazines. My husband went with me, and I inventoried everything, and I've got that far. But I was determined to get everything up online. I wanted to put up a legacy site, with a lot of history stuff and the old issues and stuff. And that's still gonna happen.
You gotta do that.
Like I said, I was gonna get them up for sale, and I fucking have failed miserably because my husband's father passed away, the pandemic, losing Johnny, this house. It's just like one thing after another, and I have to say, rest in peace, Maddie. That's the first time I've let it come out my mouth because I've been looking for him for a long time. And yeah, we've just lost way too many people, and it hurts just as much every time. But I love that kid, so I'm really sad about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, rest in peace, Maddie. Okay. I mean, we had Arlo said some good words about him too the other day on the show, and it was good to have people who know him, speak about it and stuff too.
I keep trying to find people, and then that's the news. I tried to find Chris Hines, and I found out that he was gone. And I tried to find Phil Riley, and somebody told me he was gone. And I tried to find Matty Mintz, and then and I'm like, and we just, there's just been over the years, Richard Taylor, like I could just go on and on. James Short, and it's the curse and a blessing of having such an enormous, diverse, global family that you're gonna lose a lot of people, But it doesn't get any easier. I'm really glad it's dark, so you guys can't see me.
Well, we'll lighten the mood a little bit with
Yeah, that question. Get back to that.
Okay, let me ask you one of these questions. So there's some people asking a lot of the same questions. If you continue to follow blading these days, or is it like a situation where it's like, like a bad breakup and you like need some distance and you haven't been following, or do you like keep up at all? And if you do, what do you think about it?
But aside from like, with my band, and when the magazine, when that happened, I was always frustrated with not being able to do the website myself, because that was the one thing that I really wanted to have. So the first thing I did was teach myself programming. Mm-hmm. So that's what became my career. I started just doing programming. So it's like, I had the band and then moved in and restoring this house. It took like 5 years. 2011 is when I first started like just kind of coming out of my like wounds and everything. And thank you to the mushroom guys, because they were a pivotal part in me healing in that way. And so from that point on, it just kind of like I go in waves, where it's like I might just go down a rabbit hole one day and I'm like checking out skaters. I saw a photo that I stared at for like, I swear to God, 20 minutes today. And I went through this kid's whole page. It's some kid in Romania or Bulgaria. I can't remember, but there was this photo that he had on his profile, and I was like, my God, that photo like says everything about skating. It reminded me of the quote unquote Dave Fishburne cover of issue 4, where everyone told me not to run that photo, and I was like, no, it's the photo, because skaters are becoming, it's gone from us knowing everyone to like just the random ass skater on the street. So this cover of issue 4 represents just some sick skater somewhere, faceless, nameless, that we don't know. And
that was the one shot from the back, like the soul grind or whatever.
Yeah, and that's what that represented, was just that like skating wasn't just people we knew anymore. It was like, it was bigger than us. So yeah, this photo, it was just amazing. I was just like, I could feel this guy's love, just like in his hometown skate, just sessioning. So I started going through his whole page, and I just do that sometimes. Like I'll get on just like remembering, and like I have a goal to sit down, like I said, and read every issue and watch all the videos, because I just never got a chance to watch them. So no, I'm not, I don't know shit about what's going on right now, and that's fucking awesome, because from what I hear from watching some of you guys' podcasts, which are great, by the way, awesome.
Thank you so much.
There's resurgence right now. Is there
this
like
one?
a resurgence?
This one kicks ass right now.
No, there's definitely resurgence.
This podcast right now kicks ass.
It always takes 20 years. It's like math. Us humans have had 20 years from the pinnacle, the initial pinnacle, and here we are, 2020. Our initial pinnacle was 1999. So that makes perfect sense. I've been waiting for this. I'm very happy to hear it. You guys finally got your shit together. Everybody's like having you guys are the reason. You guys are the reason that's happening. All of you. Because you're doing exactly the same thing that I did, in terms of like, you're getting it out.
It's so grassroots again, still the same way. That's like never dying in our sport.
Yeah. So it's like,
I was actually going to ask you about, because a few people had mentioned if you were ever thinking about uploading those magazines to online, and that's huge. You should
I
definitely.
am going. Every single one of them will be online.
Well, about that cover shot with the unknown skater, do you still not know who it is? Because it was rumored that it was Dave Ortega.
You know what? I was actually trying to do that today, and yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Dave Ortega. For some reason, when someone goes from being anonymous to you to being like someone you know really, really well, and then like we had that fake name because we didn't know him, something in my half-timer dementia brain today was like, was that Dave? Wait. And I started getting confused. So I'm going to have to actually ask Arlo, because he was part of that whole thing. And for some reason, it was like one of those things like telling about your first day of school, and it's so vivid, and then all of a sudden you can't fucking remember it.
Yeah. No, it was a while ago. But
that was Dave Ortega.
Speaking of covers, Harith Hassan asked a good question too. He goes, what was the inspiration behind the Josh Petty cover? Because the one of just his face.
I got told that you can't run a cover like that.
Of course, yeah.
Like, it's like this thing, I was always the anarchist about like, oh, well, no, you have to have this in the top left corner of a magazine. You have to format it like that. You have to do this. You can never run a shot like that. Blah, blah, blah. It'll never sell on the newsstand. And I'm trying to remember if they were right about it not selling on the newsstand, but we wanted to do it. I mean, Petty was bling, and that cover represented Petty. I don't think there was any. That was the shot we wanted to run. So
yeah, that was definitely like a badass shot. It was just all personality in that one.
There were so many epic
that's what
covers.
Petty was, man.
Yeah.
Right.
There were so many epic covers.
I want to put photos and stuff up, but I'm, like, again, when people were hired to work at the magazine as a photographer, as a videographer, that stuff belongs to Daily Bread. And as a legacy thing, I should be able to put that up on a dbmag.com site and have it up for the world. But I can't, because I was a fucking pussy and I let people walk all over me, and everyone walked off with their shit. They weren't supposed to, but they did. So a lot of people walked off with their shit. And so it's like I see this stuff everywhere, and I'm like, yeah, well, Daily Bread paid for that. You know, like that should be in the archives, you know, to put up for a legacy again. You know, it's frustrating, but what am I gonna do? You know, like I'm just happy that people are still enjoying it, and I'm just happy it's there. So I'm just like, whatever, you know, like it is what it is, and as long as people get to enjoy it and the history is still getting out there, then whatever.
We'll
Angie,
always be enjoying it.
You're always going to be the godmother of this family.
Should we do one more question, Bill?
I'll take it.
Let's do 2 more questions.
2 more questions. All right, you got one?
Oh, getting a little.
We're getting wild tonight.
I saw you lit this. I saw you lit the cigarette. I'm like, all right, we're kicking back for another couple more.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna stop.
No, hell no, no. I just got a resurgence of energy. So let's see. Austin, do you have a question lined up?
Well, yeah. I don't know how to say this. Rhythmics Co. What is the best Daily Bread photo / issue ever in your opinion? Thanks again for doing what you did.
Thank you. Yeah. That's a hard one. I'll always be biased toward Aton's cover. I think that was the first time we went perfect bind. That was like a pinnacle in printing and everything. The black and white with Aton on the cover. And I think I put gold in that issue. So I love that. Was he talking covers or issues?
He said photo / issue.
Okay, well, there's many photos. The glory hole, the salt flats with Johnny and Eric Burke painted the American flag. I fucking love that.
Oh yeah,
shot.
that was a good one. That was a really good one.
Oh man, and yeah, I it's really important for me right now to just like I intend to put together a legacy for Johnny, and that is on the to-do list as well because I don't think a lot of people realize what a rock he was and what he meant to the magazine, what he did for the magazine, and who he was, and so that's going to go up. And rest in peace, Johnny, too, because that was heart-wrenching. That's the biggest loss I think I've suffered, and I'm not going to go there. But favorite issues, number 4 was huge for me. Purple Haze, I'll always love that issue. Number 1, the Aton one. God, there's so many, dude. That's a hard question. I would have to actually sit down with each issue, which they're all in the other room, and go through meticulously with that to like really come up with a proper answer for that question because there's just so much history in each one for me that I can't just. It's like asking somebody what their favorite kid is.
Yeah. How many issues were there by the end?
I knew the answer to that at some point. 53, maybe? Is that right?
That's a lot to choose from then.
I'm not sure if I'm counting the last issue that we didn't print. Volume. Yeah, I don't know. Volume 14, number 2, I think was. Volume 14, number 3 may have been the one that was stolen, or number 2. I can't remember. Oh, and Carlos, fuck. That's another one, that issue. When we had Carlos's interview in there. God, there's so many.
Too many good ones.
Sorry, I can't give you a more definitive answer on that.
No, that's good. You just mentioned some really good photos too and brought back memories, even for me, just thinking about, reading those issues back in the day.
Maddie Mansell, Faith.
Oh, yeah. Someone just posted, obviously a lot of Matt Mann stuff is going around, but yeah, somebody posted that article, that page recently also. Aldeliga asks, any feelings or opinions or advice for the women's blade scene?
It's really hard because I have always been, when I was like making the magazine early on and so forth, being, what I was, always surrounded by guys and have to deal with whatever. And, in issue 4 is the story, not bad for a girl, because that's what you hear when you're a girl all the time. Well, it's not bad for a girl. How about it's just not bad? How about I'm just okay? Like why the comparison?
Exactly.
And when I did the Nobody's Bitch tour, like that was fucking phenomenal.
That was rad, by the way. That was that was incredible.
To me, that was the beginning of girls really skating, really skating, you know, like, because that was something I always had a hard time with. They were like, you run the magazine, how come you don't have more girls? I'm like, if a girl deserves a shot, and I know this sounds fucking harsh, if a girl deserves a shot, she's gonna get a fucking shot. And you'll look back and you'll see people like Mimi Shing and Dawn Everett and stuff, you know, like where that skater, because I don't see girl skater and guy skater, I just see skater.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand having to like put it, but I've just always been against separation in any way. I don't like it. I like for us to all be skaters. And I understand the need to like converge together when no one's supporting you. But again, I don't like segregation in any form. I like for it to all be whatever. So I would say that I'm speaking directly to each and every girl when I say my advice would be the same as it would be for any of you guy skaters out there. Skate and just always make sure you know why you're skating and what your goals are in terms of your motivations for skating, and never be afraid to just do whatever you feel like doing, how you feel like doing it, because you know the whole thing is it's about you. It's not about, you know, you won't find many photos of me from the past because I always shied away from the camera because it was an invasion to me of my skating. Like, I'm not going to pose. I'm not going to do a shot for you. No, fuck, go away. I'm skating. So just to always make sure that you are fully enjoying what you do and that you're enjoying it for yourself, and that, you know, there's no better feeling than setting out to do a trick and then accomplishing it. Nothing ever compares to that, you know. So
I just wanted to show a picture of you skating here in Daily Bread issue 1, just so everyone could see, all the women could see you shredding back there.
That's one of those photos where I was like, they were doing a photo shoot that day, and I don't even know how he got that photo, because I was like, literally everyone was like skating for the camera, and I was just literally every photo that I see of myself in the past, I'm like, fuck, man, those guys had it right in terms of like, I never thought about like 20 years from now actually being able to look back and see skating photos of myself. You know, that was kind of dumb, but there's very few. There's even a clip somewhere, and it's me skating on when I did this MTV thing. It's me skating, but then there's this girl Teresa, I think, in there. And she just happens to have on a top that looks like mine. I'm like, that's not me.
I feel like that happened a lot in skate videos back in the day too. Just because you dressed the same, people thought you were the same person.
Yeah, right. I think there's a picture somebody posted on Facebook from back in the days at Aaron Spawn, and it's Netta, and they tagged me in it, and I'm like, no, not me.
It's actually funny that you mentioned that, like the clips, because in the chat, Ryan Shooty asks about a flip you did in Hoax 1. Did you have a clip in Hoax 1?
Do I?
Yeah.
I'm not
You don't
sure.
remember?
You're not sure?
I don't remember. Ask him. Is there a clip of me in there?
Is there a clip of Angie in Hoax 1?
There isn't Dare to Air.
Dare to Air?
You had a bunch of clips in Dare to Air though.
Yeah.
Like a little section.
4 of us. They were actually at my house, that house in Laguna, because I was DJing at the time, and I had there was I don't know how, somehow I got a hold of a little mini ramp, and I wanted to put it up there at the house. And so there was this home being built down the street, and there was one of those backhoe, like a little Bobcat, and it had a flat tire, but it had been sitting there for months. So I was like, well, fuck, I'm going to take this Bobcat. So I took the Bobcat and put a new tire on it, and I stole the Bobcat, and I took it up and I cleared the land. I almost went over the cliff because I don't know how to drive a Bobcat. So I cleared the land up there and put that mini ramp on it. And then one day somebody came knocking. They're like, hey, can we get our Bobcat back?
What?
So that part in Dare to Air, it was a tiny little shitty mini ramp. But we had a trampoline up there. We had the mini ramp. We were like in paradise for skating and so forth. So yeah, there's the bit in Dare to Air, and maybe there's something in Hoax. Probably. We were in Japan.
Shooty said a yellow deli bread shirt. You have plenty in Hoax, he said.
I have what?
He said you have plenty in Hoax 1 and yellow deli bread shirt.
She's yellow
Well,
shirt.
that would be the shirts that I had printed for Dare to Air tour, because Hoax 1, I think, happened directly after Dare to Air, if I'm not mistaken. I think I still have a yellow Daily Bread shirt. I know my mom does.
Damn, that's some memorabilia right there.
Yeah. But who else has one? Oh, Jesse Ritter in Amsterdam sent me a photo of his dad wearing his original Daily Bread shirt. Yeah, those were actually still my favorite shirt, the yellow ones with the original logo on them. So yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna have to watch Hoax 1 now and see what the hell.
I'm curious too now.
Me too.
Okay, I'm gonna throw the hammer down. Or else my girlfriend is gonna be really pissed at me. So I gotta do one more question. Sorry, guys.
Hi, Judy.
Angie says, hi, Shooty. Mr. Wedgwood says, any chance of bringing back Daily Bread merch, shirts, stickers, etc.?
That's really a funny question, because I had this whole goal of going to Blading Cup this year and like getting I wanted to get a motorhomes-ish thing here, van, I don't know, U-Haul, and get all the SD crew, Larry Fagan, Kato, Bo. I just wanted to get everybody and just make a road trip down to the Blade Cup. And I was going to sell these back issues out of the back, like I did issue 1 of Daily Bread, selling it out of the back of the car at the skate parks. I just wanted to come and bring, so that everybody that came to support Blade Cup would have first dibs on these back issues. I was going to just set up shop there. And there's a secret thing that hopefully Arlo remembers, that all I can say on that is, yeah, it's on my to-do list.
Ooh, I would love to see that.
Yeah, it's something that I really, really want to do. So I will make that happen. There was something else to that. Shirt, t-shirt. Oh, can't remember.
Well, everyone knows that more shit's coming now, more Daily Bread gear. So keep an eye out. Hopefully soon we'll see some coming up. Even you could just sell them on the web. Everyone will buy them.
Yeah, I mean, I still have a little bit of merch. Jethro got, and it sounds so pathetic. Jethro got stolen. Yeah, I had like all this Jethro merch and stuff, and I had no room to put it anywhere or anything. So this woman in Oceanside or whatever, down here, a little like more south, she was gonna put it in her shop. She just stole everything.
What the hell?
So some woman has a storage unit with like, I think John Starr was asking me about Jethro cargo pants and stuff. So yeah,
everyone in the chat right now is screaming Jethro cargo pants and make some shirts.
I loved those pants. So anywho.
Well, Angie, thank you again so much for coming on. Arlo, we're sorry your record for the longest podcast has only lasted 2 days, but this was well worth it and well spent. This is well worth it and well spent. We definitely have to have you on again soon another time.
Modern shit, new shit. Stuff
we 100% have to have you on multiple times. We have to have you on again as like a correspondent. This is amazing.
I'm never gonna answer another email. No, I'm kidding.
Oh no.
I'm totally joking. I love what you guys are doing, man. It's just awesome.
It's been great.
Thank you so much.
I'm learning new stuff. Like I get to like sit back from the outside and like just learn it again. Like I'm a Grom.
We all learned so much today on this podcast. It's been incredible. This is one for the books. And again, I just want to say thank you for everything, your contribution. It's been enormous. It's been huge in our sport. It created so many people. It helped build this family to an incredible degree. From what I see in the chats, there's so much love here. And I think if you did want to put out some clothes and put out some stuff, that you would have this the support of the industry behind you. So that's something to think about. And
I will. And tell everyone on there, I can't type on here. I love them right back, man. Thank you.
We'll have you on again soon, Angie. Thank you so much.
Definitely. Angie, have a great night. Everyone else, thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.